Bolt your windows. Lock your doors. Check your closets. Look under your bed. And then prepare yourself. For it's another episode of Dark Knight of the Podcast.
Old clear rivers, that old clear rivers, death keeps on coming, but she don't do nothing, 'cause that old clear rivers, she just keeps blowing along. I sat there and I wrote that song because I keep saying to myself, Clear Rivers, the best name I think to ever come of the horror genre. Clear fucking Rivers. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, it has been a hot minute, Roger, since you've written an original jingle to open up one of our episodes.
So powerful.
That's what makes us unique. Every once in a while, like once a year, because it's been a long time, Roger will just we kind of take turns with the intro, and we don't tell the other one what we're going to do, so it's always a surprise. And I've been waiting with bated breath for you to do another jingle, because you did one. I don't even remember the movie. It's been so long. But
God, it's been a minute.
Come on, what podcast gives you original Clear River?
Belting. Top of my lungs. I have someone in my Airbnb, and they just probably heard that through these very thin walls, and let them hear it, because you know who I fucking love? Clear fucking Rivers. And I can't say enough about her.
Allie fucking Larder. Our second visit with Allie Larder.
She is always welcome in this house.
She's always welcome. Guys, we actually reviewed, and we're gonna plug our Patreon, because we haven't plugged our Patreon forever, and we have the same 9 patrons just hanging on to what we're doing on there. But you guys seriously need to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Dark Knight of the Podcast, because we have 15 right now, almost 16, because I'm getting ready to post the new full length. We're talking full length episodes up there for you to listen to, including our hysterically fun review of Obsessed, the fucking Beyonce and Allie Larder battle film. And we had a blast with that one. Probably one of my favorites.
I gotta say about Allie Larder,
you've said she's a whore in the past.
Well, I mean, I specifically vowed. I said I wasn't going to slut shame, so I'm not going there. But I'm going to say this about Allie Larder. It sounds like I hate her, but I don't. I have a soft spot for her. I love her. She's not the best actress. I just got to put it out on the table. There are some moments in which Clear Rivers is very wooden and dialogue-y. Like, some of her lines, I don't know where she's coming from as an actress, but they feel very honed in. But the bitch can glare. Like, I don't know a bitch who can give a glare like Allie fucking Larder. And really, that's all it comes down to for Clear Rivers, is glaring and staring and making hostile, angry statements, and I'm here for it.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad she returned for this sequel, even though I have some qualms, but we will get there. Folks, If you haven't figured it out, we are skipping the first one and going right to what is arguably the best entry in the franchise.
Oh, don't get me started, Troy.
Our grand return,
coming down to this.
Yes, our grand return after being on a hiatus for the last 3 weeks. We are giving it our all with this film, and it is Final fucking Destination 2.
Sign me up. If you sign me up, I can't. I'm gonna say it right now, and I'm coming in strong, and I'm coming in hot, Troy. I cannot think of a sequel that, in my opinion, steps up the game quite like Final Destination 2. At this point, the fuckers behind the first Final Destination realized exactly what about Final Destination makes it tick and makes it work, and they took all those things and they fucking threw it at the wall, and they just let it explode all over the place. And what we got was just such an amped up, balls to the walls upgrade on the approach of just sheer unexplained violence against human beings. Like, they take it so much further in this movie, and for the better, really for the better. This movie constantly just blows me away, literally. Allie Larder.
I was thinking about this today because I just finished watching this again right before we recorded, just so it was fresh in my mind. I was thinking because we are for our Patreon episode for the month of October, and we actually already recorded it. We do Jason Takes Manhattan. And then for our Talking Bodies episode for our Patreon, which is kind of a fun little segment we do for our tier 2 patrons every month, where we literally just kind of pick a topic and shoot the shit about it. And I talked about I ranked my Friday the 13th films in order from worst to best on that episode. And the Friday the 13th franchise is one that is definitely shaky. And then having saw Halloween Ends recently. Have you seen Halloween Ends, Roger, yet?
I don't fucking give a fuck. You know what? I'm gonna see it. And you know what? I'm gonna do it in theaters. I've got to, like, if I don't, I wear Halloween t-shirts all the time with Michael Myers' face glaring off of them. I can't not see it, but I'm mad.
Yeah, we're going to have some conversations about it. You may like it because it is definitely not like the first two. I saw it, and I really I understood what they were going for. It just for me, it did not work as they intended it to work. That's all I'll say. But my whole point is doing that, watching Halloween Ends, and then reviewing Jason Takes Manhattan. I started thinking about horror franchises, and my whole point is I really think Final Destination is probably one of the more solid franchises that we have in horror. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Halloween, there are some terrible Halloween films out there. We all know that. Friday the 13th, there's some terrible ones. Final Destination has some that aren't as great as the others, but as a whole franchise, it's pretty, I think, damn entertaining. I actually love part 5 too. I thought the twist at part 5 was so fucking clever,
Oh
and it almost edges out
yeah.
part 2 as being my favorite. But as a whole, I think this franchise really is strong. I really feel like they get people to write and direct these films that really have a passion for it and understand what the fans want to see. David Gordon Green should probably take a hint from some of these writers that have written for Final Destination, and they're doing a new one, and I can only imagine they're going to make sure that it gives the fans what they want, because I know Jeffrey Reddick is still heavily involved in all of the different sequels. A gay man who wrote the original screenplay for part 1 and produced it and whatnot. So I mean, to me, it's a consistent franchise, but I feel like this one definitely stands out among them as being probably the best. I mean, that opening
Yeah.
fucking car crash, which we're going to get into.
Oh my god. Oh my god, get out of here. I was literally in a like on the highway earlier thinking about it. And like, name a movie for me that I think has had such a level of like social impact on culture in general. You can't not see a log truck and think of this movie. Like, amazing. The impact this movie has had. Name another movie.
Yeah, it is so funny you say that, because this was released in 2003, so we're going on almost 20 years ago, which is fucking insane if you think about it. Wow. But I have seen over the course of the last 20 years, 19 years, I don't know how many social media posts I've seen where someone is driving behind a log truck and has taken a picture and posted it on social media saying something about Final Destination 2. It is that ingrained in our minds, and you are 100% right. I've driven cross country many times, from Houston to Davenport to Vegas. I mean, many times in the course of all of my moves around the country. I refuse to drive behind a log truck simply because of this fucking movie.
This movie did for log trucks what Jaws did for sharks.
Or Psycho did for the
Yeah.
shower. I mean, it's one of those things. This opening sequence is so masterfully done. It looks great even today. I was so impressed with how it looks 20 years later. It holds
The
up.
CGI across the board, Troy. I mean, honestly, we're not CGI fans, but don't tell me that the selective moments in which they incorporated CGI in this movie did not enhance it. They knew when to use it, they knew how to use it, and it is truly an impressive display across the board.
We've discussed this. I'm usually not a fan of CGI either because it tends to look dated real quick. This it does not. It's still you're very right. It still stands up as looking fantastic. Like this could be released today as it is, and it could compete with films like Halloween Ends in terms of special effects. It's it's breathtaking. It's a breathtaking film, particularly like I said, that opening sequence. But I guess we should kind of get into it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been chomping at the bit.
I know we have been chomping at the bits to be able
Chomping.
to record because you have been just for so you know, fans, you know, the reason why we've taken a little bit of a hiatus is Roger has been filming his sophomore feature film Meet. And if you have not been following like the Facebook group for Meet, you need to, because the promotional images and everything that has been posted so far looks fucking amazing. I am in awe of what you've done so far, and I'm super super excited. As somebody who has read the script and kind of you filled me in on what's going on and have sent me behind the scenes little photos, I got to tell you, I am super super impressed. You are doing something I think that is going to definitely stand out in the horror queer indie community, and it's something we need. And I know for a fact that you're really pushing boundaries with it. So he has been consumed with that. And I'm an indie filmmaker. I've made 3 films, starting to hopefully make my 4th. It consumes you. It consumes you. It consumes every second of your life, particularly when you are filming and you have a crew and a cast that you're trying to corral and get to where they need to be, and scheduling. It consumes your life. It really does. So that is why we've been on a hiatus. But I want everyone to just really check out what he's done. He's already posted some promotional stills, and it just looks incredible. The lighting, the gayness, it's just breathtaking. I'm so excited to see the final film. And for my cameo as the house mother, I don't.
The bathhouse employee. Troy's coming in, please. I said, you know what? I said to him, I said to Troy, I was like, I got to bring you out for. How could I not? You know, how can I not bring you out for a few days because of what we do? This is what brought us together as filmmakers, and you know, we got a podcast here to discuss in a moment, a movie. But I do want to say thank you for saying that. I appreciate very much that you'd raise me up. In that way as a fellow artist, because I love, you know, this is what brought us together. We both care so much about it. And I've got to really take a moment to say I had the most fucking amazing team I could possibly have ever asked for. And I want to give them a moment of credit just because I do think this is going to be something that's impactful for us. If it's handled the way it was the last few weeks, it was a life-changing experience. I cannot wait to create more with you, Troy, and talk about it more with our fans. Because it makes a lot of us tick. I know we have a lot of listeners in the same fucking boat. So next few weeks, I think Troy and I have some really awesome material coming for the Patreon and for our listeners in general. Just because, God, what a creative time right now, Troy. You're feeling it, and I'm ready to talk
Oh,
film with you.
absolutely. And a film that I think could obviously provide us with some influence is, I think, Final Destination 2.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when I think of death scenes and the setup and the suspense leading up to a death scene, this is the film that I generally think of as doing it so well. Just when you think it's going to go one way, it goes a completely different route. And it's what I love about the franchise. It's what I love about this particular film. It's how creative they get. And it definitely gives you some ideas for like your own films and how you want to structure and pace a particular scene, death scene in specifically. But yeah, the film opens up with a news broadcast that's playing over the opening credits, and it is a news broadcast that is about the anniversary of Flight 180 crashing a year ago. So it's been a year since the events of Final Destination, the first film. And we see like this guest who's very like passionate about the fact that the kids that got off the plane met their fates because of the fact that they cheated death, and that death can't be cheated. And he's very adamant about the fact that death is around us at all times. And I do like that the host of this show is like trying to call him out. He's like, "Oh God, people die all the time," and the guy's like, "No, you can't justify this. Every single one of them died in a very specific way that just wasn't coincidence. And throughout this, you're getting some very like creepy imagery of Kimberly, who is our lead, played by the lovely, can we just say the lovely AJ Cook.
Stunning. I went through an AJ Cook obsession because this movie. We're going to delve
She
into it.
looks like, you know who she looks like?
Who?
Anna Faris.
A fuller lipped brunette Anna Faris. I can see what you're talking about. I can't get enough of fucking AJ Cook. Remember her in that movie Ripper that we can't seem to find, but we
Yeah.
really want to review? God, I fucking love her. And she is truly, she's my favorite lead in the series because she has a groundedness to her that feels very understated, but feels also very like in the midst of what is oftentimes absurd situations, girl keeps it grounded. And it would be easy, really easy, to kind of go off the rails and play this too big. And I think she's part of the anchor that kind of steers or keeps this rooted and keeps the story pushing through some of its more absurd plot points. Because there are some elements of this film that are a bit big decisions, but it's fucking Final Destination 2. Who gives a fuck?
I would agree with you. She definitely is even keel throughout the film. When other people around her are kind of losing their shit, she's the one that is keeping it together. I do like the fact that she really takes the initiative to go and seek out Clear Rivers once she realizes once she realizes what is happening. She's a fun, playful character as well because during the opening scene when she's traveling with her friends, you can tell there is a sense of like playfulness with her, and she just comes off as being just um, so charismatic and fun. And you buy the relationship that she has with her blonde female friend that's in the
Yeah.
movie for what 5 minutes. I love their interaction. I love her little sweet
Yeah.
interactions with her father. She just seems very real. So I would agree with you there. Some of the imagery though that we get that's playing over this news broadcast is very interesting. If you're really paying attention, there's like almost like little clues about what's going to happen. Like there's like this frame of like a picture of her and the blonde, and if you notice, like this a scalpel is laying next to it, and it's like aimed right at her eyeball. I
Yeah.
mean, and there's a spider. There's just weird formations on the ceiling. Um, so I do like this, and she does wake up. A breeze wakes her up, and she's able to catch the final moments of the broadcast.
I really enjoy this opening because this is something that could have been so much cheesier than it is when you think about what they're trying to do here. But they have two actors who are pretty damn good delivering this news broadcast. It gave me vibes of Dawn of the Dead. Like you remember in the opening of the old Dawn of the Dead and Romero's Dawn of the Dead, you have like these news kind of really like kind of cheap looking news interviews going on where people are arguing and fighting and kind of losing their cool. And there's something about the performances here that I really just enjoyed. It really sets the tone. It gives you such a sense of foreboding. It really sets the stage. Even if you didn't see the first movie, this is very thoroughly explained to you what occurred. They make it clear that they catch you up. You know exactly where we're at. And it makes you, if you like the last movie, it makes you excited to, build off the story and this continuation. It's very much aware of what transpired with that flight.
Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to have seen the first film to watch this, because they do very heavily explain all of the characters in the first film, what their fates were, and the fact that Clear Rivers is kind of the surviving person from the first film, and she carries over into this film, so she's able to provide even more detail and summary of part one. Now, I like part one. I would watch part one again. I think that like this one's better. So if I had the choice between part one and this one, it'd always be this one. It is one of those sequels that I do appreciate because you really don't have to watch the first one to get it. There is a kind of an ominous thing that the guest says at the end of the broadcast that she catches, and he says the only way to survive death is to look beneath the visible world. Otherwise, there's no escape from it. And I do, this theme, it gets a little convoluted. What they have to end up doing in order to survive, and this whole concept of in order for for death to bypass you, you have to have new. It gets a little convoluted, and I think we're probably on the same page there. We're gonna get there.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. You had mentioned her friend Shayna, who, I mean, this movie impacted me in so many fucking ways when it came out. I went out and I bought that goddamn AJ Cook Blue Puma jacket. I found the male version, the closest one I could, and I donned that gay apparel every fucking where I went. I love that goddamn blue jacket. It was completely 100% inspired by AJ Cook in Final Destination 2. I even dyed my hair the same color. Like, I had an obsession with this character, and I'm really going to get deep into this. Like, this is going to be a very personal review. But even Sarah Carter, who plays Shayna, her best friend, the blonde, like, I love her. She has this weird kind of like almost pre-recorded sound to her voice that sounds really like bubbly and like what are you talking about? And like, and I became really like obsessed with this actress too. She's in a movie called DOA Dead or Alive. It's based off of a video game. She has a very big role in it. It's surprisingly loaded with CGI for the era, but it's really fucking entertaining. And I've really like just formed such a weird obsession with this movie around the time that it came out in my late teen, early 20s years that seeing some of these things, it's almost like super nostalgic. Even some of these deaths, like they go down in like the annals of horror history. So watching this movie got me really like pumped. And as we're coming up on the sequences, we're leading to them leaving for the highway. Like you almost feel this adrenaline rush, even when you've seen the movie, because you know what is about to come.
Yeah, and what is about to come is pretty damn epic. Because the next morning Kimberly wakes up, she's getting in her SUV. We find out she's going on like a little spring break getaway with her friend, the blonde, and two male friends. They're going to Tampa, Miami,
Tampa.
Tampa. Knew it was somewhere in Florida. And I do like the fact that the blonde is just like making sex jokes in front of her dad, in front of Kimberly's.
I'm
Yeah,
horny.
when are we gonna get the boys? I'm horny. And her dad gives her a kiss goodbye, and Kimberly gets in her SUV and pulls away, and he immediately notices a bright red puddle of transmission fluid that is eerily looks like blood.
What I find impressive about this movie is there's a lot of secondary characters who overall don't have a ton of screen time. And I'm going to use both the father and Shayna as examples. For being a very large ensemble cast, I feel that even the smallest players in this film feel very richly defined somehow, some way. The relationship with the father, who really isn't like that pivotal of a character. You could still tell that there's like a really strong relationship between Kimberly and her dad because of what she explains happened with her mother. You can tell that she and her father are very close. And like I buy it. I buy it more than I should for a movie like Final Destination 2, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Like I mentioned, the relationship between her and her dad is very, very sweet, very charming. It feels real. But they drive off. They stop at the entrance of the highway, and immediately, just all of these weird little things start to that Kimberly starts to notice. For example, like a homeless woman, it appears, comes up and pounds on her driver's side window just as the homeless woman's big plastic bag of cans breaks, and all of the cans spill out onto the side of the highway. And I was thinking, this poor homeless woman, this is probably not the best place for you to be, at the edge of this busy. I mean, this freeway is pretty
Busy.
popping.
Freeway. It is. Someone get her off the highway. Like, there's a cop over there. He should be ushering this woman along. I'll say this, though, Troy. Give me a role like that. That's that's my fucking dream role right there. That bag woman, with the cans, where you get that good close up of her face at the glass, just like glaring in through the window. That woman's remembered because because she comes out of fucking nowhere. But you know what? Her moment, she shines, and I love her. But yeah, everything that starts to transpire is so expertly placed in the overall execution of the progression of what goes down. I mean, not only is the inevitable accident breathtaking in its execution, but the build up to it is so intricate. All of these little moments that Kimberly starts to pick up on. What's on the radio? It's about the flight, the memorial that's about to happen in honor of it. They change the channel. It's Highway to Hell. Ooh, that's ominous. That goddamn fucking child driving by with the two vehicles, smashing them together, like just blatantly making it very obvious that a car accident is in fact about to happen.
The bus with all the students, and they're chanting,
The
"Pile up,
bus.
pile up, pile up."
Oh my god. The fucking driver with the beer bottle. Like, there are so many little things happening. The list is astonishing. The amount of detail that is placed all throughout this movie, to be honest. And that's why when it hits so hard, is because there are so many details led to every death, leading up to these big, big buildups, and they are always satisfying. I mean, this movie, I am shocked that it manages to hit time after time after time, because this accident is amazing, but even what follows after this is so memorable. So many good kills.
Oh yeah, I do. We do get some titties.
Oh my
That
god,
brought
that's you right there, Troy.
that's it. On the back of the motorcycle, flashing the teenage boys in the
That
car
smile.
next to him.
she's
She's
the woman
proud.
doing it. She's proud. She's just like, look at these. I
I
love her.
mean, yeah, it's just so random though. It's like, okay, I guess you wanted some boobs in a Final Destination movie, and this was your chance to get it. But yeah, I mean, they're just all kinds of shit. And we start to get introduced to like the other characters as well in very short spurts. Like you do see Rory driving his car, and he's trying to smoke some weed and snort coke while he's driving. We get Evan, who is in his little Mustang type racer car, and he's speeding past the girls until he notices them, gives them a smirk. We get Kat talking to someone, her coworker or her boss or something, on her cell phone when one of the boys in the back of the SUV flips out his joint because he sees the cop, Officer Burke, behind him, and it lands on her windshield and starts some of the leaves on her windshield on fire. It's it's all these little details. You get what's her Nora and Timothy driving in their little four Pinto. I mean, so you start to get introduced to all these little characters in very brief vignettes until like the inevitable happens.
And this right here, leading up to this, I've got to say, this is one of the single best introductory sequences I've seen to what is an ensemble of characters. And to identify a personality with a vehicle is people are what they drive. I know when you look at each character, they each have a vehicle that very much like represents them, and it's such a great way to bring you into this world and introduce you to these personalities, because it has to be said early on. I think you and I are both going to agree on this. This film contains what I think to be one of the single best ensemble casts within the genre to date. There are so many personalities that are unique, that do not feel forced. Nobody feels overly sexualized. These are literally random people from all walks of life coming together in this situation that is very difficult to explain, but they all work so well together. And I find them so fucking enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, that's the thing is I think maybe that's why I also like Five as well, because Five does a really good job at kind of giving us a group of main characters that are more realistic and grounded. I know we use the word grounded for the character of Kimberly at the start of this podcast, but I just feel like every single character in this film is grounded in like the sense of reality. Like they feel like real people. I feel like the filmmakers behind this particular one cared about these characters maybe a little bit more so than them just being like, oh well, they're gonna be killed off. Even like the first to go, and we'll get there, but even like Timothy, or no, Evan is the first to go, then Timothy. But even like Evan, has a sense of personality, and there's some like backstory that is given very strategically about him, and it just works really, really well. But I totally agree with you with this cast. It seems like it's the most oh realistic group of characters of the entire franchise. Nobody is like overtly like annoying or over the top or, like you said, sexualized. These just seem like a very normal group of people from all walks of life that just happen to be put into this situation. I feel like what maybe makes them feel a lot more real than some of the casts of the other films is the fact that the casts of the other films are all teenagers, with the exception of the teacher Crystal Clokey in part one, who we love her.
I love her.
Yeah, yeah. But all the other sequels, the cast is teenagers. So there is a sense of making them annoying or cliche. And here you get characters from all walks of life. I mean, you have Nora, you have Eugene, you have, I mean, it's a diverse group that you just don't see in the other films. And I think that's what maybe makes it feel a lot more realistic.
Yeah, yeah. It really sets itself apart from every other film in the series in that it is not a film that feels specifically just crafted for like teenagers. Like I've always felt the Final Destination movies were really geared towards like a bubblegum audience that wants to see gore. They kind of played into that like teen fan base, the kind of fan base that would go to see slashers, but then it just produced like this insane amount of violence as well. So it kind of drew in another audience for that. But I've always felt that the casts have always felt young, except for this film. This film, it's not like it's like the random teacher. This is like people from all walks of life. And it does make it feel so much more interesting overall. And that's why it gets so many points for me. And yeah, so swinging back around to this inevitable accident, uh, when it does happen, when the first thing truly goes awry, the incident with the log truck, as Thomas is he's driving his car and he drops a coffee on his lap and he doesn't fully notice what's going on at first. He's distracted, so when he looks up, it's already in the midst of it. Um, the logs atop this log truck begin to release because the chain becomes loose, and the moment of realization in his face. I mean, when you think, Troy, and I'm a non driver, I've got to say this. I'm a non driver for life. I tried it. I have severe anxiety, was problematic. I am terrified in vehicles at all times, even as a passenger. The visual of this is exactly how I imagine this would look and feel. And it is truly terrifying. And never will it not be terrifying.
Yeah, no. Yeah. So what happens is the log truck, basically the chains that are holding these huge, let's take a moment to realize that these are like redwood
Redwood
stumps.
trees.
These are huge. They the chains holding them break and causes the logs to roll off of this truck, and they hit the concrete of the freeway with such a loud thump. And I thought that was super effective to hit home how fucking massive these logs are when they hit the ground. It's like and they bounce up, and yeah, and the first one goes right through this poor cop's window, and it is, I mean, it takes his head clean off and it comes out the back windshield, and you just see the blood and the brain matter just splatter out, and it is so cringy. And I wonder if they took inspiration from the opening scene of a film called, we're going to cover this film because it is kind of has a huge gay following, and it's kind of gay in its themes itself. Butcher Baker, Nightmare Maker. Have you ever seen that?
No, but I know there's a huge fan base for it.
With Susan Tyrell. Okay, the opening of that has a very similar scene. So I think maybe this particular death was trying to pay homage to that, which if it was, awesome for them that they went that up and found a really great but obscure film to pull from, because it's virtually the same scene. But then, I mean, fucking all hell breaks loose in this opening. And, like I said, it's epic. It's masterfully done. It still holds up today. You got fucking cars crashing. You got poor Eugene flying off of his motorcycle and slamming up against one of the logs as his motorcycle then slides into him and crushes him. You have poor Nora and her son Timothy trying to stop their car, but he drops one of his water bottles and it gets stuck under the brakes, so she can't stop, and they end up driving right into a fucking log. Their car blows up. The long, shaggy-haired Rory, I mean, his car slams into the bottom of a semi and blows up. I mean, it's explosion after explosion after explosion. Cars flipping. Kimberly's SUV finally flips over, and you get a good visual of that SUV spinning over. And one thing I noticed upon like subsequent viewings is you see that poor blonde girl's head like literally hanging out of the sunroof.
Oh, Troy, that is a visual that sticks with me. Like when I saw it again, I immediately wrote the note down. I was so still thrown off, even though I know it's coming. It's the raw brutality of just this body limply being flung. This girl who's clearly not wearing a seatbelt. It takes me back to the fear I felt when we were in like grade school and they would show us those videos of like, this is what happens if you fool around on the bus, and all of a sudden you see school buses colliding into each other and like bodies being thrown around. Did you ever have to watch that? Because I have a distinct memory of that, and it traumatized me. It scared the shit out of me. That was the goal of it, to keep kids fucking in line. This is the adult version of that.
Oh, those in videos you had to watch in driver's ed too. Those are pretty terrifying. But yeah, I mean, it culminates in her SUV flipping over, and she's kind of stuck. Kimberly's kind of stuck in the seat because she's seatbelted in, and she's literally watching poor Evan burn to death, which is terrifying in itself because he is screaming a bloody murder and he can't get out of his seatbelt and he's just engulfed in flames, which is literally, literally one of my biggest fears. I will tell you, my mother, and I shouldn't say this, rest in peace, mom, but she refused to wear a seatbelt because she had that fear. She always had this fear that she would get in a car crash and she wouldn't be able to free herself because of the seatbelt would be stuck. So she wouldn't wear one. A little tidbit, but I know there are people that are, I mean, this proves that could happen.
Yeah.
Like he literally can't get out of the car because his seatbelt is strapping him in. I just remember that very distinctly, that she had a very, very severe fear of that. And she's seen this movie, and I remember her being like, see. But you know, it's so disturbing because he's burning alive. Kimberly's watching it, and all of a sudden, then you see this semi that's engulfed in flames come out of nowhere, crash into Evan's car, and then come straight at Kimberly, and she screams right as it gets to her, and then it cuts and she wakes up, and we realize it's just a premonition.
One thing I really love about this film bringing a female into the role that was initiated, with a male, which is rare. And I mean, Devon Zawa does a phenomenal job in the first film. I very much enjoy his performance, but with having a female in the role, I think she's allowed to go places with her fear a little more than males, at least at the time, were allowed to express, because they always have to be more like, play it butcher, play it more like intense, not really allow them to have moments of like genuine like I don't want to say fear, but like, she's allowed to cry, she's allowed to get emotional and get sensitive with the material, and it makes, I think, for her reactions just to be a little more interesting to me than Devon Sawa was. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, his character seemed a little bit more hysterical than
Yes.
she does, and so it got a little bit grating. And I understand, okay, yes, I understand why the character would be hysterical. Obviously, all your friends are dying, you realize that you're probably next. But I like the fact that she does not lose her shit as much as he did. So she's very much like, in her mind, and with this character, the Kimberly character is like, okay, this is what we need to do to survive. Let's stop all of this other fucking nonsense and let's just focus on what we need to do to survive. She's not hysterical. She's not, it's very matter of fact. This is what I need to do, and this is what we all should do. And then she ends up being, right in in terms of what she does.
In some ways, I almost feel like she is the like equivalent of like a Friday the 13th 2, what it did for the Final Girl, the equivalent to the Final Destination series of Devon Sawa was great in the character that they created, but Kimberly set the mold for the kind of character that the viewers expected afterwards. They're a lot more take charge, they're a lot more in control. I feel all of the characters that follow Kimberly feel more in her footsteps than Devon Sawa's. Does that make sense?
Definitely. The female characters are sort of the primary focus of the rest of the franchise, even though they always have a male counterpart with them. It is like the female, the one that is it seems like the focus. In part three, we get Mary Elizabeth Winstead, correct?
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. And then part four, we get, I can't think of her name, but she's paired with the guy. Part five, we get Nick. Oh, he's a cutie. He was in oh, he's been in a lot of stuff, but he's like the primary focus. He kind of takes the step of he kind of fills the shoes of the Devon Sawa character, but he also has a female counterpart. So it became kind of a trope. In this film, the male counterpart to Kimberly happens to be the police officer, who is Officer Burke, who when Kimberly comes out of her premonition, she is freaked out. Obviously her friends are asking her what's wrong, and she's able to like predict everything. She's like, the next song on the radio is going to be Highway to Hell. She turns it on, it's Highway to Hell. Everything she's saying is true. So she pulls up and blocks the entrance of the freeway so the cars behind her can't get on. And this is when the cop pulls up, asks her what's going on, and she's like, there's going to be a major pileup, I just saw it. You need to stop this log truck. And he makes her get out of the car, and all of a sudden the log truck drives by. And the other ones are getting impatient, particularly Rory, who's honking his horn, and Evan, who gets out of the car along with the pregnant Isabella, Justina Machado from 6 Feet Under.
Yeah. I feel like she has the weirdest storyline out of everything going on here. It feels the most disjointed. Everybody else is so like bonded together, and then there's Isabella, like living her life, pregnant, delivering packages. So she does feel very separated from everybody. She's fine. Like the actress is really good, but I feel like the character is the one that feels. If I was going to say anybody felt a little lacking to me, it's her storyline in contrast to everybody else's.
Well, her storyline exists solely to give us sort of a twist ending, because it builds up to where she becomes, even though she's in the film the least, she becomes a very prominent figure in the film. And yeah, she's great, but yeah, she's never has any scenes with the rest of the cast. This film is very much an ensemble piece, with the exception of her. She is never in any of the scenes with the other cast members, which I guess is a really good foreshadowing in terms of how the film is going to end with her particular story arc. The fact that she's never engaging with the other
Yeah.
members of this little group. But as Kimberly is talking to the police officers, the log truck drives by, and she's like, "That's it," and drives by, and she's like, "You need to stop it." And all of a sudden we hear an explosion. We see that her premonition came true. All of the cars in front of her have caught on fire and are crashing and blowing up. Everyone is like, what the fuck? She is just like freaking out. And there's this moment where, she's just taking everything in. And all of a sudden we see the officer rush at her, grab her, and pull her out of the way just in time, because this giant fucking semi crashes right into her SUV with her friends in it, causing it to explode and kill them all.
This whole sequence, again, phenomenal. But specifically the shot of her that you mentioned when she's like taking it all in, turning her face, and you see the officer in like very soft focus in the background start moving in slow motion. A beautiful shot. A perfectly placed shot leading up to this moment of just intense violence. If you look at the little detail of when the semi is about to collide with the SUV, you see the one friend start to look out the window, like noticing it. And it's this little tiny detail. And I remember watching the making of documentary that came with this, with the DVD set. And I remember how they talked about little CGI additions that they placed to enhance it. And this really is a great example of taking key little moments and simply adding a little bit of CGI flair. Most of this is all very much physically happening. Like this isn't digital. All of this car accident sequence is very much practical effects. But then they go in and they add like the police officer's face when he's about to realize the log's about to collide with him. Like that, seeing that adds quite a lot to the moment. And they're just so smart with like the little tiny details they place throughout this, because seeing that friend pop his face out the window right before he's killed makes it that much more like ghastly.
Oh, definitely, definitely. But what we find out, that her premonition came true. And so she's taken to the police station with the rest of the group that would have died if it wasn't for her. And of course they're skeptical. I mean, think about it. If you were brought into a police station after something like this, and they were holding you because this broad in front of you in a car in front of you said that she's had a vision, you'd probably be a little skeptical too. But none of these people want to be there. They're like, why are you holding us? In fact, Nora and her son Tim just kind of are tired of hearing about this premonition, so they get up and leave. Eugene obviously is not having it either. He's probably the biggest skeptic of the entire group throughout the film. We also get Evan, who we find out had won the lottery the day before, because the sheriff makes a big deal about what a lucky son of a bitch he is. Because yesterday he won $250,000 in the lottery. Today he avoids a major crash that would have killed him. And again, we get a scene with Detective Burke and Kimberly that really kind of is a synopsis of the first film, where we find out last year on the same day, Flight 180 happened, and the kids that got off that plane all died horrific deaths that were elaborate and coincidental. So this is when Detective Burke does mention, hey, not every one of the kids that got off that flight died. Clear Rivers survived, but she's has herself locked in a padded room at the asylum.
I've got to say that one thing that I find it's both impressive but also at times a little bit distracting is like this movie moves fast. Like it does not take much time to breathe between scenes. There are occasional little character moments. I greatly appreciate them. They're wonderful building tools for these characters that we do need to come to like over the course of the movie in order to feel something when they do inevitably die. They do a great job with it. They really do. They add these little character moments that really flesh these individuals out for the brief time that they're on screen. So I really do appreciate it. But in moments like this, they are very quick to bring in the whole backstory of like Flight 180, how it's the anniversary, and suspicion. This must be what it is. Like Kimberly, right off the bat, thinks that she's being haunted by the force that caused this whole incident. She suspects it right away. And I guess you would having a vision like that. Like I guess I shouldn't be that surprised by it, but it does seem like they're very quick to tie in that backstory. But hey, they keep a tight fucking shift. This thing is moving fast. And I am also impressed at how quickly they keep the story going.
The pacing of this film is spot on. You never have a chance to get bored. It just moves, moves, moves. It's solely, I mean, let's be honest, the film exists solely to set up one elaborate death scene after the other, but it works. And what makes it work is the amount of time it takes to set these death scenes up so that you do get to experience a day in the life of the character that the death is about to happen to, which I appreciate. For example, right after this police station scene, the police station scene ends with Kimberly's father showing up and getting her from the police station. We cut to Evan, who has not let the fact that he almost died in this crash really deter him from spending this lotto money, because he's going to his apartment with his latest purchases, including a fucking giant 2003 iMac computer.
Oh my god, it looks so dated, but I also get so excited when I see it because it still looks so beautiful and new.
Yeah,
Like,
it does. He has the iMac. He has boxes of clothes.
yeah.
And it's kind of I like the juxtaposition of this new fancy shit he's bringing in, and then his apartment, which is just a dump. It's a total like bachelor's pad. It's dirty. There's dirty dishes everywhere, shit all over the floor. And I'm thinking, dude, you could have spent that $250,000 and bought a house or cleaned up the place. But typical like single straight guy. He immediately goes in his kitchen. He like takes a frying pan of spaghetti, and instead of dumping it in the garbage, which we find out that one little thing would have saved his fucking life, he throws it out the window.
Yeah. He's a total douche. Total douche. And played very well for the brief time he's on camera. But there's little things he does that seem very thought out. I really enjoy this actor's brief performance. I love when he goes to the voicemail and he starts playing back, and it's all these girls who are like, "Hey, Evan, it's Nikki. We met at a friend's party. I've been thinking about you. Call me." Like it's so it's absurd, but it's also seriously, you know this would happen. People would come out of the fucking woodworks, the shittiest people you know, and they'd be trying to hit you up for money. And I don't know, it's a fun little story arc that they give this character because it is so brief, but it gives him all this room to explore these little personality traits that make for his death to be quite entertaining.
Oh yeah, like he's a total douchey straight guy. Like he is the shit that he's cooking. I mean, you learn what I like about this is you learn so much about who this guy is, and we all know somebody like this. Like he, he throws a pot on the stove, and he has like leftover Chinese in his refrigerator that's like not even in a closed container that he takes out. And throws it on the counter because he's going to cook that. And then he has like a box of mozzarella sticks. And in the meantime, he takes his shirt off so that he can cook, and you just learn, like you said, you just learn so much about this character with these little actions. So he starts cooking his mozzarella sticks. In the meantime, he has those, we all know what they are, those alphabet magnets that used to be very popular that people would have on the refrigerator. He has those on his refrigerator and it spells out the word hey, but when he's not paying attention, one of them falls into the container of Chinese food and he immediately takes the Chinese food, puts it in the microwave. And while his mozzarella sticks are cooking, he takes out a ring that he must have just bought and puts it on and is admiring this ring that I think is quite ugly, but he is very proud of it. And yeah, in the meantime, all these girls are calling him. And it's funny, like they're like, oh, I heard you just won the lottery. We should really hook up. And it's just that classic case of if you win a lot of money, people that you haven't talked to in years are going to come out of the woodwork, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But he ultimately gets startled because of the spark that the magnet in the microwave causes a giant like explosion, not explosion, but giant spark that startles him. So he drops his ring into the sink and it goes down into the garbage disposal. So he has to reach in and try to get that. And his hand gets stuck. And while his hand is stuck, the food on the stove catches fire and the microwave literally blows up. I mean, it's just one thing after another, and he literally cannot get his hand out of this garbage disposal. And we, the audience, are like, "Oh shit, he's gonna burn to death. He's gonna catch fire. It's gonna suck because he just took his shirt off." You don't want to see his bare, but he ends up getting his hand out just in time as the fire kind of engulfs the entire kitchen and the apartment, and he's spraying he knocks the pan off of the stove with a towel, and it flies off the stove and then catches the apartment on fire. So he's trying to put everything out with the fire extinguisher, and it gets too much. It spreads too quickly. So, and there's this moment where the windows that are open slam shut. So he has to break the window to get out onto the fire escape. And as he's climbing down, the ladder gets stuck. And just as it's stuck and he's there, this whole kitchen explodes.
This whole sequence is, and we're going to say this about every single one of these buildups, but this whole sequence up to this point is so meticulous. The detail of the magnet, just because there's little things I gotta like point it out, just seeing that little detail of the magnet just dropping into the box, like completely feasible, could totally fucking happen. But as it happens, bing bang boom, one thing after another, it's all building up to something bigger, and you as the audience are witnessing something he's just completely oblivious to because he's so caught up in his moment of wealth, But I also want to acknowledge his nipple piercing. I just want to bring that up. The nipple, you see a nipple piercing, it's cute, and it comes back into play later with Tony Todd. But yeah, so it does build up to this huge fucking explosion. And at this point, you've already expected like 4 or 5 different scenarios that would have led to this guy's death that did not end up occurring. So you're like guessing the whole time, what is it going to be? What is it going to fucking be?
And it is what you would least expect, right? It's something I would never have guessed, which is very cool because most of the death scenes are like that. But when the explosion happens, he falls off of the fire escape ladder, and he's able to get up. As he's standing up, he looks up and he's like, "God damn, I'm one lucky son of a bitch." And he takes a step to walk, and what does he do? He steps right in the fucking pile of spaghetti that he just dumped out the window, which causes him to slip and fall backwards again, right onto his back, onto shattered glass, which looks painful as hell. And he just lays there for a moment. I'm like, dude, get up. Because what happens is the ladder falls and it stops literally maybe 6 inches from his face. I know at that moment, once the minute that ladder stopped, my ass would have rolled out of the way.
Oh,
He
absolutely.
he doesn't. Instead, he's like, "What the fuck?" Right as the ladder falls, the remainder 6 inches right through his fucking eyeball.
Oh my god, this effect is so fucking good. I mean, it looks so good. It's just fucking gnarly. You see the whole fucking thing. It cuts away pretty quick, but it gives you just enough. It is such a great introductory kill in the sense of individual kills per character, because again, that's what this franchise is known for, and it's succeeded so many times when you think about it. Like you touched on it earlier, that I wouldn't say there's actually a necessarily a bad Final Destination. There's just some that aren't as good, but even the ones that I would say are weaker in their overall execution have several moments that are memorable. But this one does have the most, and it opens so strong and it sets the bar really high, and then it just continues to like go higher. It's really impressive.
Yeah, after poor Evan is dispatched, we do get a montage of the various survivors of the crash going about their daily lives. Like we have Kat on the treadmill talking to her mom. I do like that she's on the treadmill working out, but she's smoking a cigarette while she's doing it.
I love her. I love her. I fucking love
I
Cat.
love Kat too. We get like Rory at a party, smoking some dope and everything. And what we find out is that a news broadcast comes on, and it is about Evan's death. They're like, "Oh, a lottery winner was killed in a freak accident," and they all see this, and we get all of their reactions, which is cool because they're like, "Oh shit, we know this guy. He was survived this accident with us." And so Kimberly sees this as well. So it's like her first indication that, oh, something may be going on here.
Yeah. There's also a moment with Thomas where he's already like, you could see that Thomas is starting to really kind of explore the whole tie into Flight 180. I mean, they give you quite a montage of imagery of him looking at newspaper clippings and strategically placed photos of all of the individuals who died on websites that give you all of the information you could possibly need in case you somehow have not picked up on the storyline at this point of the first film. Yet again, it's made very, very clear to you that people were killed after surviving a goddamn airplane crashing. But yeah, you get more imagery of that, and I do say, at least with Thomas, you start to learn about his connection to the initial incident sooner than the rest. Because this is a plot point that comes up. And at least with Thomas's character, like they do make it clear that he is somebody who has already established a connection with the Flight 180 incident. He helped clean up the remains of Sean William Scott's character, I think, after the whole being like plowed over by the train. And so he has this distinct memory of that. And so he instantly, I think, has some suspicion that something supernatural could be at play. And I normally wouldn't buy it this early into the film with this character, but they do play him as very like kind, thoughtful, sensitive. For being a male character, he has a lot of warmth to him, and it doesn't come off as, I think, cheesy as it could with other characters. Does that make sense?
It does. He seems very contemplative, and he is a character that is not going to not take something seriously because it might not sound, logical. And I think he is smart enough to realize that what happened with Flight 180 was extremely baffling, and very eerie. The fact that the kids that got off the plane were killed shortly afterwards. And now knowing that, Evan was just killed in the same scenario with experiencing what Kimberly's did with her premonition, I think it's very smart of the writers to make him at least be a little bit more open to the idea that there could be, like you said, something supernatural at work. Because with the Kimberly character, she gets into action right away, and I think that makes the two of these characters quite the successful duo. And the fact that they both are going to find out what the fuck's going on. What can they do to prevent it, to save these other people? It's not even really about themselves. And so, yeah, it's a very interesting way to paint the character because besides like Eugene, who, we don't get a lot of like major conflict between the characters. Like, oh, this is bullshit. Yes, Eugene does that, but it doesn't last very long.
No. They realize pretty quick that shit is going down.
And it's because of the persistence of the Kimberly character and of, I think, Sheriff Burke as well. Or Officer Burke, he's not the sheriff. Because he here in a few minutes, he even calls a meeting to his apartment so that they can discuss what they can do to, in essence, survive. But we do get a scene with Nora tucking Tim in, which is a very sweet scene because it's hammered home that this is a widower with her teenage son that she loves and cares about. She gives him a sleeping pill, because he has a dentist appointment tomorrow, and she knows that he has a lot of anxiety when it comes to the dentist, so she wants him to get a good night's sleep. He does ask, do you think, that the guys this morning at the police station were just BSing us? And she says, yeah, they were. Nora is a skeptic too, but in a more quiet, kind of passive way. You know what I mean? Eugene is more vocal about it. She's way more passive and dismissive. And just kind of a meek, sweet character that you can tell has been through a lot. Her husband recently passed away, and you can tell it's definitely affecting her.
She's such an unexpected character for a film like such as this. Like, she is such an everyday woman. She, like you said, she's meek. She's the opposite of sexy. She feels very like believable in the sense of how she's portrayed as someone who I feel could be on in the crowd next to you. And I appreciate about the character, because it instantly makes you want to feel something additional for her, because there's just a sadness to the character. There's one thing I think that's really important that I don't want to get too far from it, because we're on the verge of overlooking it, but it has to be acknowledged. In the midst of this montage, Thomas is, like I said, he's looking at this website. He's looking at this very elaborate website that gives you just excessive amounts of backstory on everything that happened to the Flight 180 survivors. You see a photo of Terry's mangled body, which is quite effective. Images of everybody else who died and how they died very clearly. Like, you're seeing a lot of this imagery, like, right up in your face. I'm shocked that they would be able to find these photos, but if this is in the reality, in the real world, but somehow, some way, they got their hands on them. But it is also brought up via newspaper clipping that Alex, the survivor from the first film, as played by Devon Sawa, was shockingly and mysteriously killed by a falling brick, and that thus leaving the one and only Clear Rivers to be the only survivor from the original film. And we talked a little bit about Alex before. And while I say I do prefer Kimberly just because I'm such a fan of her, I have no issues with Alex. I think he was quite the effective lead for the opening installment of this series. And I feel like having that explained away via newspaper clipping, it's very unsatisfying. I mean, I'm sure there's reason for it. Why ever he wouldn't want to come back. I mean, I think that was a foolish choice if it was by choice, because this series has somehow managed to sustain enough that we're getting a goddamn sixth entry, like we mentioned. I would love to have a through character that carries through the franchise for several episodes. I mean, Tony Todd is the closest thing we're going to have. But I think that, just kind of lightly touching on explaining away that Alex was killed, and that's that, we're moving on. It does feel like something is missing from the story, because I really feel like there should have been a little bit more of his presence. Since he was so vital to setting up the mythology that exists within this series.
I get that. I haven't seen the original Final Destination for years, so I guess I never made the connection that in the first Final Destination we actually don't see Alex die. At the end of the film, he's still alive, so it didn't really snap with me until like the third viewing of this. Like, oh wait, was Alex did not die in the first film? So yeah, it is a odd choice. They could have even done something as simple as like, I don't want to like overshadow the opening scene of this film because it's brilliant, but like think about like Hostel 2, what they did. They brought Jay Hernandez back for that opening scene where we get to see him be killed off. It is kind of unsatisfying to realize that this kid who fought so hard and was so clever at staying alive, and then we're going to find out, oh well, yeah, a brick fell on him.
It almost seems resentful in a way. Like I feel like in a way it almost feels like he didn't want to come back, so they gave him the lamest possible death. I'm not saying that is the case, but it just feels like so not a part of the story that it does seem strange to me. So I just really had to touch on that because I do wish that character had some form of closure, but he does not. He was killed by a brick. Moving on.
but that leaves us then with the one and only Clear Rivers,
Oh God, a river so clear.
who Kimberly is able to look up the map quest. I love the map quest. I do you remember MapQuest and having to
Of
print out
course.
direction? Yeah. So
Yeah.
she gets on her little computer, pulls up the MapQuest directions to Stony Brook Institute, where Clear is basically living her life voluntarily in a padded room. I do like the fact that, like, when she gets to this hospital, the head nurse makes her relinquish pretty much everything. Like everything. This woman stopped short of making her undress and walk in naked.
Yeah.
And Kimberly's like, is she dangerous? And the nurse is like, oh no, honey, she probably thinks you are. So she goes into Clear's room, and it is a padded room. Even the floors are padded. There is a elaborate web of photos of the victims of Flight 180 and connecting how they died. Clear is, bless her heart for allowing Kimberly to come and see her, but she's pretty dismissive of the whole thing.
I'll say it, and I'll say it, and I'll say it again a million times over. Give me Allie Larder any day of the week. But I can't sit here and say that I think she gives a good performance in this film. I can't. She seems very overall just like phoning it in. Like I feel like everything she's saying is like she's angry, she's pissed, she's resentful of what happened to her friends, and nobody's gonna tell Clear Rivers how to do what she's gonna fucking do. Like she's just got a lot of hostility, and that's kind of like all she has. And it does make for her character to seem very kind of one dimensional. A lot of times I feel like I can just see Allie Larder acting, and it's just weird, especially when she's acting opposite AJ Cook, who seems so much more like natural and understanding of her character. I guess maybe it felt like a weird direction to take Clear Rivers as compared to the character in the first film, because she doesn't feel anything like the first Clear Rivers, down to her goddamn fucking bangs. Now, a sensible blonde in a leather jacket. Like it feels kind of like a completely different character in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that if you thought that this version of Clear Rivers kind of matched the one we got in the first film. Um, and I don't know. I don't know. There is something a little bit stilted about her performance. It's hard to put your finger on it, but compared to the rest of the cast, it's she just seems like she's not fully embracing the material, or she's not fully like into this particular film. I don't know. Maybe she didn't want to do it. Who knows? But there's definitely something off with her character, and sometimes it just seems like she doesn't even want to be there.
No, yeah.
And I think this particular scene kind of is the first little hint that we get of that. I picked up on it. I don't know. Others maybe think she's Oscar worthy. Who knows? But it really feels like Allie Larder herself didn't really want to do this.
Yeah.
And I mean, what else was she doing at the time? That's what I want to know, honey. You got two good paychecks from this franchise, so deal with it.
Yeah.
She is very like dismissive of Kimberly. Kimberly tells her, hey, I was supposed to die. Clear is like, well, good luck. You're all on death's list now. Nothing really you can do.
She's a total bitch about it. She's a complete fucking bitch, and it is a little it's a surprising reintroduction to the character. She has absolutely no like likable traits to her whatsoever to start. She's just a complete cunt to the demure, just pleasant, just overall pleasant Kimberly.
Well, my question is, if she knew that she was gonna be a bitch to Kimberly for coming and visiting her, why did she even agree to let her come and visit?
I know. Yeah, I got a lot of questions for fucking Allie Larder as Clear Rivers, but for some reason she brings her to her padded room, which I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say it. Okay, maybe this is like the last ditch effort, but don't tell me that there aren't ways that you could die in that fucking padded room. Like, is death just like, well, I give up, she's in a padded room? No, like, death will make like a fucking airplane crash into the building, or I don't know, a massive fire that'll consume the ward. Like, how has this been the solution? Death will make like one of the pins pop out from the fucking elaborate display she has up on the wall, and stab through her eyeball and kill her. I don't know. Choke her with the string. There's so many ways that Clear Rivers, in my mind, should still have died up to this point, but somehow I guess this was a solution.
That's one of the big question marks of this film. Is like you're telling me a padded room is going to stop death, the inevitable. That's the whole thing throughout this whole film is you can't stop death. How many times do we hear that? Tony Todd says it. The guy at the beginning in the news broadcast says it. You can't stop death. Well, apparently you can by just living in a padded room. It's one of the kind of sort of like the minor inconsistencies, but Kimberly does tell her, but the only thing is, in my premonition, my friends died last, not first. So there's something with the order, and this is like, this is where it becomes convoluted, I think, because I'm trying to wrap my head around it, and Clear's like, oh,
It
you
does.
mess with death's order. Oh, and Kimberly's like, well, yeah, but what can I do? And she's like, oh, you just got to watch for the signs.
But then when Kimberly tells her that her friends are the ones that died are like not in the same order as when Allie Larder's Clear Rivers would have suspected it, she has a moment where she's like, "Wait, it was backwards."
Yeah.
Like, and it's like it is the least believable like delivery of a line possible. Like, I just see like nothing but like like just sadness in Ellie Larder's eyes. Like, she fucking must hate this character. I don't know, man. It seems so awkward. Not to go back to that, but specifically this moment where she's like basically saying to Kimberly, like, you've gotta go. Like like it's just she's just such like a bitch, and there's nothing more to her than that.
Yeah, well, all she tells Kimberly is that she needs to look out for the signs, and Clear's like, "Well, I'm done with you. You can leave now." She tells Kimberly basically get out of her room, and Kimberly's like, "I think you're a selfish, scared, bitter bitch, and you're already dead." And Clear's like, "Just go." And as Kimberly leaves, she like turns around to the camera and flips Clear off in the camera.
And Claire like kind of reacts, but like doesn't really do much. Like, I don't know, but you can tell that Claire is kind of at least like, okay, I should have done more. Like, you can tell that she's having some internal conflict at least, which I kind of do appreciate the journey she has of like being like, I need to step up here and be willing to help these people because I know how hard this is. At least you do get that angle from the character, or else she would be completely unlikable. But she does step up eventually. She does come into play and become more of a pivotal factor.
Yeah, so Officer Burke is conveniently waiting for Kimberly when she gets back to her house, and he says that the survivors are having a meeting at his place tonight to discuss, what they are going to do to try to stay alive. And at the same moment, she has this vision of pigeons, a flock of pigeons like flying at her. And
These fucking pigeons. And she's like, pigeons! And like there are multiple moments in which people scream pigeons out loud in this movie. And pigeons become like a pivotal factor here for a couple of scenes.
they do. She's like, the pigeons. I think pigeons are going to kill Nora and Tim. We have to find them. So they make it a mad dash to find Nora and Tim. And we do get a small moment, a small cut back to Clear in her cell, her padded room, reading the newspaper article about the crash and the fact that Evan died. and she uses this, I guess, to decide that she does maybe need to help these people. So we get this moment where she takes off her bracelet, because we also find out she's voluntarily there. She's not committed. She is voluntarily there as a means to try to stay alive.
Which, like, okay, like, I guess, like, what else would you fucking do at that point? Like, I guess I just would hope for death or just take my own life. But I feel like death, like, if I tried to take my own life, I feel like death would be like, nope, not on my watch, and be like, I'm doing this. This is my job. But yeah, in a way, I almost feel like they're trying to give us a fan service. I bet Devon Sawa wouldn't come back, so they fucking took Clear Rivers instead. And like, uh, it's not until the second half of this that she becomes more of a palatable introduction. But I almost, in some ways, just wish it was just Kimberly leading her troops into the fray because she's more than capable. It's not like I feel like I need another strong female, you know?
Yeah, Kimberly could have taken the helms of this movie because she is a go-getter. I mean, she's right away, she's the one that makes the effort to go and find Clear to figure out what they need to do to survive. So obviously, this Kimberly character is not a weak, you know, mild little girl that's not going to try to confront anything. She's going full force. I think that Clear River's character gets a little bit more tolerable as the film goes on, for sure. But yeah, we cut to Tim. Tim, he's at his dentist appointment, and he's taken in to have his teeth cleaned and have a cavity filled. And as he's laying in the dentist chair, all these pigeons are flying into this window. Like, and the dentist is like, how many times do I have to replace this window because of these damn pigeons? And there's all these construction shit going on outside, and outside in the lobby, Nora's waiting for him, and we see this fish tank, and this fish tank springs a leak, causing the cord to get submerged in water and spark. And it's just like all of these little things kind of commence into one moment that is like an oh shit moment. And it's when Tim, who the doctor can't really administer Novocaine because he keeps getting startled by these pigeons every time they fly into the windshield or the window. So he in turn gives poor Tim laughing gas to put him out. But it seems like Tim can feel what's happening to him, but he can't like say anything because like as the doctor's drilling, you can tell it's like painful to him. A tear's running down his eyeball, and it just makes anybody that is afraid of the dentist cringe.
Oh, I mean, what a great idea, like, in the sense of, like, let's pursue things that make people actually, like, uncomfortable and scare them. I mean, the dentist for sure, man. Like, I mean, how many people do I know who feel queasy about going to the dentist? I don't love going to the fucking dentist. So I can relate to a certain extent watching this. And they do such a great job of just making it uncomfortable before even bringing the supernatural elements into play, like showing the tears running down his face as the dentist is drilling into his teeth. It just, like, feels very restricted. Like, I almost feel like I can feel the clamps holding the mouth open. Like, they get so into his mouth, and it just feels like very, like, ugh, invasive. So when this whole thing does start to go down with, the whole thing with the fish tank, and then this whole little fish display that's above him, when the nitrous oxide, is that what it is? Is that one, like, yeah, where the tanks um like, I forget, like, they get, like, something gets knocked, the cord gets knocked out, so the levels change, and then he's only getting basically knocked out at this point, so he's starting to lose consciousness, and you're seeing this whole display of this, like, fish, like, kind of like rubber fish that kind of floats above the chair, and one of them just drops into his mouth, and it's so uncomfortable because he's just losing consciousness. He's just getting drugged so heavy that he's passing out at this point, and you could see this thing, like, going into his mouth, and oh, I feel like I can feel it, like, in the back of the palate of my throat, like that sensation. I don't know, man. This moment makes me so queasy. It's a different kind of fear. Like, this movie is really good at being shocking, but it's also really good at just making you uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's definitely a cringeworthy scene because he's in the dentist chair by himself. Nobody is in the room with him because the dentist has to rush out to the lobby because a pigeon actually busted through the glass and they're trying to get it out. So poor Tim is strapped in this chair, losing consciousness with this plastic rubber fish in his mouth that's going deeper down his throat. When just at the in the nick of time, the nurse comes in and pulls it out of his mouth.
Oh my god, this chick's face, like, it's exactly how I would be. She's like, "Oh shit." She's like, "We almost had a fucking lawsuit." Which, I mean, let's be real. Inevitably, someone else is about to have a lawsuit because, again, what happens is definitely, I think, not what you would have anticipated. Though this scene did a very good sign at, a very good job at giving you a sign, kind of hinting at what's to come. Because if you look outside the window the whole time this is happening, you see this construction going on outside. It's very prominent because you keep hearing the audio of it, but you keep paying attention to what's going on in the dentist's office because you're in the space, but you know the construction isn't somehow going to play some factor. So when Tim comes running outside from the dentist's office and sees this flock of pigeons, and Kimberly and Thomas come running out of nowhere. They're screaming, "The fucking pigeons!" Like just screaming at the top of their lungs and being a fucking asshole because this kid's he's a little prick. The whole time he's a bit of a dick. Like, I'm happy he's the next one to go. He runs, he startles the fucking pigeons. They go flying. And this, of course, startles the lift operator who's lifting this massive piece of sheet glass. And I mean, honestly, what transpires here is breathtaking. For me as a horror fan, like, god damn, this has to be the single best body smash I have ever seen, ever captured on camera. The way this kid goes out is glorious.
It's gnarly. It is one of the best body smashes of all time. It does not. The camera stays on it, and you see this poor kid be be smashed by this large pane of glass. But the little prick, he did it himself. He scared these pigeons. The pigeons fly up into the construction worker and cause him to have to swat him away. And in the process, he hits the release gear on the crane, and it drops the huge pane of glass right down on poor Timothy. It smashes this kid. Like, it's a gnarly effect. You see his body just like buckle and smash in front of his poor mother.
Oh my god, it's such a traumatizing experience for her because like the moment of realization, like there's no way at all this child could have survived this massacre. And he's like, I mean, he's like a teenager, but he's supposed to be like what, 16 maybe? Like he's a punk, but he's still technically like a kid he's a teen. So it always I always remember feeling kind of shocked that they off this kid so gnarly because he's overall not that old. It's just a brutal fucking kill, and the mom is absolutely uh, in shock. I mean, her breakdown is actually pretty well played. Again, considering a goddamn Final Destination film, they let it linger on her reaction and her just complete horror of what she just experienced, and she does a pretty damn good job just breaking down. It's a really uncomfortable and sad and just shocking sequence.
Yeah, Detective Burke and Kimberly did as well. So there's this moment where he takes her home and they're just both very melancholy. And as they pull into the driveway and she's getting ready to get out of the car, who shows up? Clear fucking Rivers.
The river most
Clear
clear.
Rivers. And she is now here to help. So her idea of helping them is to take them to the crematorium in the middle of the cemetery where one Tony Todd is preparing to cremate Evan, who we see.
I mean, I'm always here for fucking Tony Todd any day of the week. And I do love that he has been a consistent for the most part through almost all of the entries. I think there's what one or two he's not in maybe. But
Yeah.
I love that he's here, but this scene throws me for a loop because and I love like we love this movie, but we have been very openly criticizing a lot of choices that are made over the course of this film. And I got to say, when they walk into this morgue, I mean, do do morgues actually ever like really look like that? And I'm genuinely asking this as a question. I don't know. How often am I in a morgue? But I'm sorry, this looks like something from the Dark Ages. Like it looks like a set that I would imagine being used in a film about like the plague. It's filled with smoke, it's moist and dripping. It seems to be built out of rock. Um it certainly does not look like what I would imagine an operating morgue to look like, but it is very ominous and it does lure the presence of one Tony Todd, who, again, always welcome in this fucking house. That voice,
Yeah, he's kind of yeah,
underutilized.
wasted here. Like this scene could have been easily chopped from the film, and it wouldn't have caused any disruption to the plot. I feel like they did it just to get him in there because he repeats exactly what Clear says in the padded room and what she tells Kimberly, and he repeats exactly what the dude at the beginning of the film says. Although he does add something. Clear is demanding that he tell them how they can survive, and he's like, "Well, you can't cheat death." Um, and he's like, "Oh, and you're looking quite lovely today." And he's like, and he tells her, "People are always the most alive right before they die, wouldn't you say?" Very ominous. Like he's basically telling her you're about to die because he just got done saying how great she looks.
Oh, he's so ominous. Well, like, and here's my question about Tony Todd overall over the course of this series is like, I've never exactly understood his exact like purpose to the franchise. Like, is he actually like a physical manifestation of what is death? Like, is that actually like death's like kind of like physical form where he's very aware and conscious to what's going on? Like, how does Tony Todd possess this knowledge exactly? Is it because he's like a caretaker who handles bodies? He just knows. He just happens to know all of this. Like, I don't know. It never is really explained just what Tony Todd's purpose is in the franchise, but they still keep bringing him back. I don't get it.
It's for them to say Tony Todd is in this movie. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of the same thing with like Hellfest. Remember Hellfest? The movie with him in it, and he's in it for literally like 30 seconds. It's just kind of a novelty to be able to say you have Tony Todd, the actor who played Candyman, in your film, because I think even in part three, he's in part three as well, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I think he has something to do with like the carnival though in part three in the beginning. I don't know. Yeah, it's just odd. His only kind of real purpose here is to tell Kimberly, because she's like, "You need to tell us what we can do to survive." And he does say, "Only new life can defeat death." And she's like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" And he says, "An introduction of a life that wasn't meant to be can stop the chain of death."
Okay, like, I mean, here's the deal. I'll take it. Like, I get they're really reaching and trying to create an evolution, a growth off of the story that was initiated in the original film. And one I guess one tiny issue I have with the franchise in general is that it always feels like it's not really ever building to some kind of conclusion, which I guess you can say about any kind of like horror slasher film. But at least like there are continuous story arcs that carry through much of the franchises we love. With Final Destination, every time it's just a new group of people getting killed in gruesome ways. The only thing that ties them together is Flight 180. It keeps coming up over and over and over, and it's kind of just like aimlessly drifting until finally five brought it full circle, which was, I agree on you on that. You mentioned that earlier. Five is phenomenal. I would say five is my second favorite, almost in a way. But yeah, I feel like this movie definitely tried to expand upon what was established in the first film, and I appreciate that. It's just so difficult to do that when the force that is coming for these people is literal death. Like, it's not like someone in a fucking hockey mask. It's not someone who's just coming for you in your dreams. It is death, which is always present. If anything, at times when death is not present in this, I wonder why it is death. Like, is death like trying to find them, or like I thought death is just always looming. So, like, I don't know. Um, I can't really sit here and question the plot developments of Final Destination 2 when I know what the storyline is. But I do still at times wish, like, I wish this had just a little more potential to develop into something different, you know?
I will say I love this movie. I like I said, it's probably it fights with five to be my favorite of the franchise. However, if I have to admit, there is a huge aspect of the film I don't really care for, and it is this one right here, particularly because of the payoff, which is zilch. If you get what I'm saying. Like what we find out is they take, that's the end of Tony Todd's scene is basically him. It's literally maybe a 45-second scene and he's gone at the gas station. And I do like the fact that you say, you mentioned the fact that death should always be around us, right? What is it doing if it's not it? And I think this film particularly does a really good job at kind of keeping the audience on our toes, because when we are at this gas station with Clear, Kimberly, and Detective Burke, there are all kinds of things going on around them that we as the audience think at any time one of these characters is going to bite it. There's a scene like with this kid walking out to the pumps and he lights a cigarette right at the gas pump, and Clear hits him. She's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he's like, "You can suck my dick, you bitch," or something like that. Biatch, yeah. And then like as they're talking, Kimberly has this vision that causes her to actually have a physical reaction, and the vision is her. She sees a van going into a white van going into a lake. When she's retelling what her vision is to Clear and Detective Burke, all of this shit is going on around them. Like, and Clear is recognizing it, and like there's potentials for explosions. There's workers across the street. There's a car that swerves out of the way to avoid hitting something and comes into the parking lot. It's just like everything. Like you said, death is all around us. There's all these little things that at any moment could lead to death. They don't, but what it does is it allows the group to remember, or Kimberly to specifically remember, the pregnant woman that was in the white van. And this gives them the idea that, hey, what he said, the introduction of a life that wasn't meant to be, it has to be the baby. So if we can find this woman and she gives birth to this baby that was meant to die, then we can cheat death. So Burke is like, hey, I can do that. I'm a police officer. So he puts out an APB for this pregnant woman, Isabella.
Definitely, I would say the weakest aspect of the film is this whole, like, gotta find Isabella, because you're right, it ends up not having a payoff, and so because of that, like, you're like, why did we invest so much time in this? Like, I don't know, I feel like the plot could have maybe been spent developing these characters that we really do very much enjoy even more. I wouldn't have minded that. It feels kind of like time wasted, but not enough to really, like, kill my spirit for the film, you
No,
know?
it doesn't. It doesn't. There's not enough of it to slow down the film. And I love the actress. I love Justine Machado. She's been in some great stuff. She was in, like I said, 6 Feet Under. She was in Queen of the South. I love her. I She could have been totally removed from this film, and I would have been fine. And in fact, it would have not have changed the film one bit. That's how much the character really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. And we get this whole plot device where they're tracking down this pregnant woman, and there are a couple scenes like of her being pulled over and her being put in jail. I'm like, okay, enough with this character. I don't want to. Why are we pulling ourselves away from this main group of people that we've spent so much time with to see this woman? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Uh, at Burke's apartment, Rory shows up, and again, we get this is like another random scene that I don't know what its purpose was. I guess maybe to give us a little insight into Rory's quirky personality, but he gets on the elevator with a guy who he's trying to have a conversation with. His foot gets stuck as he's getting into the elevator, and it won't open, which gives us kind of an ominous foreshadowing. But when he gets in the elevator, the guy that's in the elevator with him is like, I've told maintenance to fix this elevator now for about a month, and I don't know what their problem is. And Rory's looking at him. He's like, you got something on your face. I could wipe it off for you. And he's like licking his finger. He's like, here, let me wipe it off for you. And
Yeah, it's
it just
weird.
goes. It's very weird. It just kind of goes nowhere. The guy's like, "No thanks," and gets off the elevator.
But you know what, man? I gotta say it. Moments like these are because it's weird. It feels very specific for the character, and it's consistent with what Rory's character is, which is this like fucking druggy mess who's just like out there, and his choices are weird. His dialogue is weird, and I think he's one of the most defined characters of the film because everything he does seems very much along the lines of who this character is, what he does, and just how he acts. He's a coke addict. He's always doing coke. I mean, the volume of cocaine that Roy consumes over what the 48 hours, maybe 3 days at most, that we track these characters, like that alone should kill him. That should be how death kills Roy. Is just the cocaine pulsing through his veins until his heart stops. But somehow he keeps on trucking. But I like these moments, man. I do think that they really take time to give these characters these little beats that give you the quirks and the weird little traits that define who they are. And I think that's why we enjoy them so much.
And yeah, it's just a very weird scene because no other character kind of gets a little moment like that is so like quirky and goofballish. But I appreciate it. It kind of it makes me chuckle. But I was like, this just is a very odd thing to include in this film. I guess it's a little bit of comic relief before we get into the rest of the film, which becomes very serious until like the last couple of minutes of the film. Because when then the apartment, Nora is there and she's basically a closet case. She asks for a Valium, which Kat gives her, and his Kat's like, "Here, only take half." Nora just takes the whole thing in her mouth and takes it. Kimberly, again, Kimberly is a girl of action. You got to love this. She gives them all cell phones and tells them that if they need to call her, or if she calls them and tells them, something like Subway, then they need to prepare for that and go to the high, get away from a Subway, go up high, get away from anything that could potentially be a Subway could get to, because she's the one that's primarily having these visions. Eugene, on the other hand, is like, man, I'm not taking this shit. I'm in control of my life. You are some crazy bitch. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm going home. And as he gets his jacket, he accidentally causes this, like, what is it, a golf ball to fall off the chair, and it rolls into a mouse trap, causing it to like fling up and hit a thing on the wall where a rope is securing a kayak, and the kayak comes swinging down and literally misses Clear's head by like a millimeter.
It is very elaborate. But I mean, what about this franchise is not elaborate? The goal is to be elaborate. But this seems kind of strange because it does feel like death is like making itself known. It's like, don't forget I'm here. I'm always coming for you. Like it doesn't seem like conducive to death's plan to make itself seem so obvious, but it happens. Now everyone's kind of had the fear of God put in them. So everyone starts cooperating a little bit more.
Yeah, he's a little less skeptical now. He's like, if death's after you, why don't you leave us the fuck alone? And Camber's like, she's the only one that's been through this, before. In the meantime, we cut to the cops pulling over the pregnant Isabella and telling her that the van she's in has been reported stolen. So it is Officer Burke's way to get her secluded and get her into a safe place, right?
I mean, it's at least it's utilizing like him being like an officer. Like it makes sense. Like the choices that are being made, it doesn't feel like it's just thrown together. It's a weird direction to take the story, but it seems like thought out. I'm just not completely jiving with some of the decisions made, but at least it's competent. Like it's over explained as fuck to make sure you're following along. We hear the story of what's going on and Death's fucking design and what death's coming for us. We hear it explained by like 7 different people, multiple occasions. And at this point, if you don't understand, I don't know what song and dance they have to give to you to make it clear that death is coming, but new life is the key. And that's why this pregnant woman is so fucking important.
Back at the apartment, Nora decides she is going to leave. And it's a very like somber moment where she tells Kimberly, you know what? If it's my time to go and to be in heaven with my family, I'm fine with that. And she leaves. And Eugene follows her. And he reiterates that he is in charge of his life, not some superstitious bullshit that they are spouting out. Kimberly gives him a phone and she's like, will you please give this to Nora? Even though you don't believe, please give this to her. So he does, he leaves, and then Rory is putting some shit in a closet and causing some mischief because he the shit he's putting in, he tries to reach the top shelf and everything falls out on top of him. In the meantime, Nora and Eugene get into the elevator, and there is this pleasant man with a box of hands with, or what are they? These are hook hands, right? Prosthetic hook hands.
This man is known as Man with Hooks, and he's holding a box full of prosthetic limbs, but they're like old school hook limbs. They're very uncomfortable. I mean, just that alone. If I was either of these individuals who was even somewhat considering the idea that death was coming for me. If that elevator door opened, I would say this man is the personification of death, and I am not getting in this elevator. But they don't seem too phased by Man with Hooks. So they get in, and, obviously things go awry. What I find really works for this moment for me is this moment that you mentioned prior with Nora, where she's like, I accept if I'm going to die, I'll be able to, see my family once more, my husband and my child. And she's very sad, and she goes to plan the funeral. But as soon as things become threatening, that changes and she becomes hysterical, because once Rory realizes he's having a vision, which these signs, like, I mean, is death playing with them? Is death like toying with them?
I I don't know how they looked at what he saw and made the connection that that meant that Nora was going to be killed with a man with hooks. Like, to me, yeah, I could see like an image of a man that looks like he had hooks. To me, it looked like a bunch of tree branches, but I could see the image. But how do you look at that and then be like, oh my god, a man with hooks is going to kill Nora? That was a stretch for me. That was a leap that went a little too far, if you ask me. But they all agree that it's a sign that a man with hooks is going to kill Nora. So Burke rushes to call her with the cell phone. In the meantime, this poor old man, he's a pleasant old man. He just has a little habit of sniffing women's hair, apparently, because he has just taken a big old whiff of Nora's hair. uh,
It's a strange choice, and he gets noticed as
yeah,
well.
Eugene notices and he was like, what the fuck? And the weird guy like pulls back. And so she answers the phone. Well, she drops the phone. So she bends down to pick it up to answer it. And she can barely hear Officer Perk. She's like, well, who is this? What are you trying to tell me? And then she does hear the fact that a man with hooks is going to kill you. And she immediately freaks out because she knows that this guy with a box full of hook hands is right behind her. And she tries to like immediately pull away, but her hair gets caught on one of his hooks in the box. And she is like freaking the fuck out and she won't calm down. And if she would have just fucking calmed down and Eugene could have told her, hey, it's you that got your hair. This guy is not doing anything to you. But she's freaking out and she tries to get out of the elevator, but the elevator closes, leaving her like head. She's twisted around on the outside of the elevator. Her head is inside the elevator. Her body's outside the elevator, right? And we realize the elevator is broken from that Corey or from the Rory scene when it wouldn't open when his foot was stuck in it. So we know that she's fucked. And boy, is she fucked
Oh man.
because her head is stuck in
Ooh.
there. She's screaming bloody murder, and I really find it chilling and quite sad when she starts screaming, "I don't want to die."
Yeah. It's surprisingly, it goes there for a minute, and I don't always think this movie is all about like uh, focusing on the humanity of what happens. When death is about to occur, it's always about the splatter, it's about the shock, it's about the just the how far can they push it. But they rarely really like let the characters in the moment focus on their own humanity and the fact that they're about to experience death. They normally don't really take time to dwell on that. So it is extra morbid that you get to see this reaction from her as everyone's trying to help her it lingers for a minute, and it's very sad, very uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I also think it's like realistic. We have moments where we think, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I want to die." But I feel like if you're confronted with it as boldly as she is, we all realize maybe we don't want to really die. It's easy to say you do, and it's easy to think that it's going to be an easy solution for you, but when you're confronted with it, I think that's a completely different story. And it kind of shows that moment here where she really, yes, she's in a low point in her life where her son just died, her husband died, so she thinks I have nothing to live for. But again, when she's so blatantly confronted with this death that is going to be horrifically brutal and painful, she realizes, no, this is not what I want. And yeah, it's very sad. She's like, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Unfortunately, though, the elevator goes up and she's decapitated. A la, what was her name? Annette, the blonde in Hide and Go Shriek, got the same death in the elevator. And the head falls inside the elevator. The body falls outside the elevator. Eugene is freaking out. Freaking out. He comes back into the apartment and is just fucking screaming about, I'm in control of my life, motherfucker. I'm in control of my life. He pulls Officer Burke's gun from his waist and holds it up to his head. And we don't think he's going to do it. And this is another moment where I was like, I don't know, because how you portrayed this character throughout the film so far, I don't buy that he is just so easily going to kill himself. But because this character throughout the film has been very strong, he
I
very
agree.
like, I'm determined to live, I'm in control. And now because he saw Nora get killed in this very, yeah, this horrific accident is what it was. And that's going to be enough for him to be like, okay, I'm going to go kill myself now.
I mean, I think the actor does a pretty. I mean, as I agree with you on the note, I completely agree. But I do think the actor does a pretty fair job of, in my opinion, of selling it. Because I mean, the moment when he sees the body, like there is a really upsetting shot after she's decapitated, where the man with hooks is screaming like a banshee. He just witnessed a woman decapitated before his very eyes, and then you've got this great shot on Eugene in the corner, just flipping his shit, understandably so, looking at this shot of her head where it's very out of focus. It's actually quite a pretty shot as it reveals the face. But you do see the build and the climax of his impending break. He does a good job with it.
He sells it, but it doesn't fit the character, in my
No,
opinion.
I agree.
I would have, it would have fit the character more if he could have held the gun to his head and been like, yeah, I'm not going to do it. But then they talked him out of it and he put it down. But no, he literally pulls the trigger. He literally intends to kill himself, and he pulls the trigger 6 times and nothing happens. And the group is shocked. Even Kimberly's like, what the fuck? So she takes the gun from him and she's like, you don't load this gun? And they open the gun and all 6 bullets were in there.
Yeah.
They just didn't go off. They were all duds. And they're like, there's no way 6 bullets were duds. And then Clear walks in and she's covered in blood. And she's like, well, it wasn't his turn to die. I don't buy that.
No, that
I
death
mean,
is going to make you like
death
wait.
is gonna no, death is not gonna make you wait your turn. If you're gonna shoot yourself in the eye, to see, this was another thing that was a little bit of an inconsistency because it's never used again in the entire franchise. It just seemed like a silly thing to do. I mean, if someone's gonna kill themselves, they're gonna kill their. I don't buy the whole. It wasn't his turn to die. Whatever. Anyways, I do like the fact that Kat's covered in blood, and she's like, "Can we go find the pregnant woman now?"
Yeah, I do appreciate, like, at this point, most of that doubt and everything is thrown out the window. Everybody's on the same page, whether they want to be or not. I do appreciate that now we can move forward with just trying to find a solution. And it does kick into high gear, I would say, here moving forward. There's not a ton of movie left. Like this movie, it's tight, it moves quick, and it's not like extremely long to begin with. I think it's like a solid maybe hour and a half max, if that. So it moves at a pretty fast pace, which I appreciate. But like they're off now, and they're off to see the fucking wizard. All of them together in Cat's SUV, and they're gonna go fucking get down to business at this point as a team.
They are a team now. They're going to find the pregnant woman. She, unbeknownst to them, is in a jail cell arguing with the deputy about how this is all a mistake when her water breaks. And there's this kind of comic moment where she's screaming at the deputy and he's fumbling around like Barney Fife. And she's like, I'm not going to have my baby in a jail cell. Get me to the goddamn hospital. He's trying to call the sheriff to get the car because they don't have a car there. And she's like, take my van, take my van. He's like, what? Oh my God. Okay. He's just a bumbling idiot, but he does agree to get her in the van to drive her to the hospital.
Well, and I will say, I like, even though these scenes are very like separate from everything, I do like this deputy. I think he's actually kind of funny. He sells it, like he makes it work, and she's, like you said, she's great. They're really the only reason that these scenes are
Tolerable.
working tolerable is because at least like they still bring some character and pizzazz to it, and he's a fun little addition to the few moments that he's in with her. You
Oh,
know,
yeah. And she's great at being, angry and hysterical. But so we go back to the van or to the cat's SUV where the group is, and through casual conversation, we find out that all of these survivors have a connection to the victims of Flight 180. Starting with Eugene, he just casually says, he's like, you know what? This is really weird because it's not the first time that I've escaped death. And he tells a story about how he filled in for a teacher. He was forced to fill in for a teacher, and the teacher that he was in the classroom with before he got pulled got stabbed by a student like 2 days before he got pulled. Then we find out that Burke tells his story about how he avoided death because he got the call of the kid that got Sean William Scott's character, right? And his partner told him to go, and his partner went to this call and got killed in a shootout. Kat avoided death from a gas leak at a bed and breakfast because she was on a bus that splattered Terry. She was on that bus. So, of course, her whole trip got delayed. Rory was in Paris, and he avoided going to a theater that ended up collapsing and killing everyone inside because he got sidetracked by Carter being killed by the falling sign. And finally, Kimberly tells a story about how she was at the mall with her mother and she got distracted watching a news broadcast of the kid who committed suicide, quote unquote, by hanging himself in the shower, which we know he didn't commit suicide. But it caused her not to go out to the vehicle with her mother, and her mother ended up getting carjacked and shot. So all of these people would have died anyways if those kids wouldn't have got off of Flight 180. So this is like the second time each of them have escaped death, and death is now trying to, according to Clear Rivers, tie up loose ends.
okay. There have been some developments over the course of the plot that I have found convoluted, that I have found kind of like shoehorned into the story. I haven't had like too many huge issues with it, but I've been like aware of the fact that there are aspects of the story that just seem very forced. This development, I think, is great. And I would have loved if they would have had a little bit more time to explore this aspect of like the fact that like the ripple effect that was occurred did occur due to certain characters surviving, other people whose fates were disrupted as well. What a great plot point. And for me, it outshines some of the issues I do have that have come about thus far for this revelation, because it does feel fresh and it feels like a strong upgrade to the story from the first film. And I can kind of turn a blind eye to some of the things I don't love so much about the story development for this moment, which I think is a really strong direction to take the story.
I actually 100% agree with you. I think that that's what makes this film have a little bit more depth to it. I really liked this development when I started to realize, okay, what the connections were when they were telling their stories, and we were like, oh my God, that was the teacher you were supposed to. Oh my God, that was, you start to realize that it's kind of almost it's not to the same, doesn't pack the same punch as like the ending to part 5, but it's in that same realm, if you know what I mean. And really 2 and 5 are the only films that really try to do something, I think, clever in that regard. 3 and 4 are fun popcorn films. You got some great death scenes in 3 and 4. 3 and 4, of course, has the iconic tanning bed deaths. 4 is probably the worst of the bunch, but it's still just a fun watch. Those exist solely, they're fun and they follow the formula, but kind of those exist solely to give us elaborate build-ups to death scenes. There's not a lot of substance to them. It's like this film and then the fifth one really tried to do something that was a little bit more deep with the material. So like I think that's why I appreciate them a little bit more. Whereas 3 and 4 are just like, oh, how many people can we kill off in these elaborate setups without really having, you know.
That's why, Troy, personally, I've been so excited to discuss this film with you, is because I know that we have a lot of things we really love about this movie, and there's a few little gripes we have about it as well. And I've heard you voice them before, and I've always been on the exact same page with you about all of these major points that we've discussed. It has its flaws, but God, it is never anything but entertaining. And I can look past the flaws because I still think there are some really strong advances it makes in the sense of storytelling, with characters I really enjoy watching tell the story. So in that sense, it really can't go too off the tracks for me.
Well, just as they finish telling these stories and Clear Rivers realizes that, hey, the us getting off of flight 180 that day did not just affect us, it affected everything that anybody that we were going to come in contact with in the future. And she makes the comment about death is tying up loose ends when the car tire explodes, causing them to almost crash into the same van that the pregnant woman's in. And the car is goes down into a ditch. A big old tree branch crashes through the car, and it basically just crashes into a ravine. Cat is trapped by this tree limb that has come through. Eugene is hyperventilating. They think he has a collapsed lung. So the ambulance come. There is this moment where the deputy wants to go help them, and the pregnant woman's like, "No, don't you dare go help them. We got to get to the hospital now." And he agrees. He calls it in. Eugene's taken away in an ambulance. This news van that pulls up strikes a leak. So we see gas leaking from this news van, which we know is not good. Poor Cat is like pinned inside her vehicle. And in the meantime, this white pipe has bust through the back of the car and narrowly missed hitting her in the head. So it's protruding from the driver's seat, and it almost went through her head upon an initial impact, but it did not. She managed to evade it. There's this kind of moment where Rory approaches Kimberly and asks her if when he dies, if it's going to hurt. She's like, I don't know. And then he gives her his wallet and keys, tells Kimberly to go to his apartment, throw away his drugs and his porn so his mom doesn't have to find him when he dies.
Another one of these little moments with this character that really kind of work for me, to be honest. Like, he keeps having them, and they just keep developing this character in this really unique, interesting individual who feels unlike, I don't know, anybody else I can really think of within the genre. He's very much like his own just quirky personality, which honestly makes him super fucking hot. Like, I'd fuck the shit out of this guy. Even though he's fucking cuckoo bananas, he's still sexy. I don't know why. But yeah, I appreciate all of these little moments because they keep going back and forth too, like between the different characters, the interactions. Cat keeps interacting with this like bumfuck, like like rural white trash redneck hillbilly who is like just sweet as pie, but just fucking things up, and she's so over it, and she gets to have a few more funny little moments before the inevitable, which pisses me off because God, I love her character so much.
Yeah, she calls him Jethro. He's trying to pull her out, and she's like, God damn it, Jethro. And, he himself almost gets killed. And Rory pulls him out of the way just before the news van plows into him. And Rory's like, what are you trying to get yourself killed? You got to pay more attention, kid. And as Rory walks away, the little redneck kid's like, thank you. But then the firefighters come to get poor Cat out of this predicament. And I gotta wonder, would firefighters be this negligent? Wouldn't you think they would see the whole kind of the situation and what might unfold?
I think you're right. I do. I think you're very much correct in saying that. I also feel though like the way they play it, like she has this whole moment. Okay, so let's be real. Cat's about to die. It's a bummer. but she has this really great moment where like the guy has the jaws of life and he's trying to like get her out, and she's like, "Could you be a little more quiet with that?" And really dickishly, he's like, "Oh yeah, let me put it on silent mode." And she's like, "That'd be great." Like not even aware of how fucking absurd that is. And then of course the moment he does that, he like jams it in to be a prick, and that ends up being enough of a shock to the vehicle that the airbag goes off and it erupts, and it reveals it deflates to reveal that her head has been completely like speared right through the center of her forehead by the pipe that was right behind her, that it forced her back and the pressure caused it to go right through her fucking forehead. And it's a great reveal. It's a bummer of a death because she's such a cool character, but god, like it comes bam out of fucking nowhere and all of a sudden this broad's dead, and like you even see the firefighter like, holy fuck, what did I just do?
Oh yeah, the airbag smashing against. Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. But then she's dead, and we get a nice shot of the aftermath of the pipe sticking out of her forehead. But then all of a sudden, the gas that was leaking from the van causes it to explode because Cat drops her cigarette after she's dead, and that causes the gas to ignite and then go to the van and cause a giant explosion, causing a piece of barbed wire fencing to fly through the air and hit poor Rory, who's standing in the middle of the field, cutting him in three pieces.
Okay, first thing before we get into the meat and bones literally of this death, um the fact that they give us a double whammy that like directly transitions from one death to the next, um very well played, because as soon as she dies, her cigarette, her, which you have seen her smoking all throughout the film, she has a very specific cigarette, you see it drop, it starts to spark, that whole trail of oil that you saw earlier from the vehicle that got punctured, immediately goes up into flames, and all of a sudden, boom, this big fucking explosion when the news vehicle blows up. The effect itself, I have to say, one of the greatest digitally enhanced kills of all time. I think the reason so many of these kills hit so hard is because CGI was still like kind of becoming more than just like a garnish. It was starting to become, very prominent in major sequences, but they were still selective about when they used it as much as they used it, as compared to now, where entire scenes are built around CGI and it's overwhelming. They simply use it to enhance certain aspects and moments. And here, when you watch how this was done, again on the documentary with the DVD, they still had a prop body that fell apart. It had organs and all the fill-ins in it, and then there a lot of green screen was incorporated. I mean, this is still a lot of practical effects that are being digitally composited. It's not just completely digital things that are being built. So there's still texture and there's still depth to these things that you're seeing. And I think that's why, when you watch this, it really does look shockingly seamless, especially for the era, because there really is still a lot of artistry that went into creating this moment.
And it's a great moment. Like yeah, I do like the fact that it's a double death right then and there. They're not fucking around. You dispatch of the last two, or you dispatch of two victims within a matter of 30 seconds. And one of the ways that you're dispatching of the second victim has to do with the first victim's death because she drops her cigarette. At this same moment, Kimberly has another vision of a doctor like choking. She thinks it's a vision of a doctor choking her.
My least favorite development in the whole film, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. So she thinks this doctor, what is the doctor's
It's like
name?
Kavarkian
Karvarkian?
or something like that. And she's like, it's a nurse. She's choking me. Like, she's going to choke Isabella. And it's like, who, what? Who the fuck is this dame coming in her fucking white jacket, just choking bitches? Like, I'm sure there's another explanation, Kimberly, to what's going on than this broad just walking in and choking a pregnant woman without
Yeah, I was like,
explanation.
why would a doctor choke up? Yeah, it was such a weird. To me, it was like the same thing about like, oh, a man with hooks is going to kill Nora. It's like such a jump to make. But they rush to the hospital, and we cut to Isabella is actually giving birth, and the baby though is having. Of course, they can't just make it. There's suspense and we know they're not going to kill no damn baby, but they're sure trying to make it seem like they're going to, right? Because the delivering doctor is like, the umbilical cord's wrapped around the baby's neck. This baby's in trouble. That's what she
That
says. This
doctor,
baby's in trouble.
that doctor wanted a fucking moment, and they're like, "We're gonna give it to you. You're saving this baby." But she really took that moment and ran with it. Yeah, they really start to like make it feel like there is so much going on at once, because there is. Like, we are in the finale of the film, like, let's be real, and things are just going awry. People are in trouble everywhere you look. You've got fucking Eugene with a collapsed lung, who is completely incapacitated, and he is on a bed, like, with a like attached to a machine.
But okay, so this a potential build up to this death to me is sort of not in
It's not in
line
line.
with the
No.
rest of even the franchise, because literally there's like nothing that is like coincidental happening. What is happening, it looks very much supernatural, am I right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
the door closes by itself, the windows close, the vents close by themselves, the ventilator pulls itself away from the wall so it kind of it's not, there's no like every other death has had a logical sort of buildup of events that happen by almost accident. This particular death scene or setup for this death scene is almost like something you'd get out of like Poltergeist or something, a super where the ghost is clearly causing all of this stuff, like unplugging stuff by itself. There's nothing that's causing this except the supernatural element, which really, again, did not mesh well with the rest of the film. But whatever, he's recognizing this is happening and, freaking out.
And this does eventually build up to, I think, one of the biggest talking points of this film. But I do want to say, like, I was kind of going in the same direction with that. I found it kind of jarring that all of a sudden death is just like, I'm here, I'm present, deal with it. You're going to die. I'm going to make it known. And yeah, I mean, he's incapacitated, but still, like, I mean, he's very aware of what's going on. And, as chaos is ensuing and people are delivering babies and running through hospitals, running into doctors and nurses, we have this moment building up right now where Clear Rivers, who has suddenly become very invested in this team. She went from a Debbie Downer to just like one of the gang. Like, she's in it to win it now. And she's on a mission to find Eugene. And she finally does identify the room that he's in, and she starts heading in that direction. And what we're building up to here, Troy, I mean, we got some thoughts on where this is about to go, don't we?
Oh, we do. In the meantime, though, before this happens, the contractions have stopped on Isabella, and Burke is trying to stop this doctor, Kachaturian or whatever her name is.
Isn't that like a food item?
I
Like,
don't know what, I can't remember,
like,
Kevorkian. I don't know.
it's like, yeah, it's
It might
something
as
like
well be
that.
Doctor. I think they were trying to make it sound like Doctor Kevorkian, but it's something that. But they stop the doctor, but they get her, and she's like, I got to get to this room. So they get into the room just in time for the baby to be delivered. So they walk in, and Isabella has had the baby and it's perfectly fine. And they're like, oh, thank you to her. And she's like, who are these people? And at the same time, to make us think that everything's going to be okay, the emergency battery comes on in Eugene's room. Everything opens up back up again. And you're like, oh, okay, so this really was the case. However, Kimberly goes into another premonition, and she sees, it's almost like a flashback. And she has a vision of the day of the crash, and she sees that Isabella wasn't even supposed to die. Isabella was on the other side was out of her car watching she got out of harm's way and was out of the car on the side of the road watching everything. So, all this baby shit meant nothing.
So all of this for naught. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, it's such a massive aspect of where they're going with the story. For it suddenly to feel so irrelevant does feel like I've wasted so much time and energy on, like, trying to get invested in this storyline that I'm really not that invested in to begin with. But, like, okay, at least now we know, like, the baby storyline is finished, and now we can focus on what's important: the remaining
It's
survivors.
just, yeah, it's kind of so lacklusterly handled. Like, I was like, oh, okay. Why we make this such an important part of the last 30 minutes of this film? But as she's having this flashback, she also has a premonition and another vision of herself in the lake and someone with like bloody hands. Her hands are bloody in front of her. And this is the moment that Clear goes into Eugene's room because she thinks it may be him.
Do you find it strange that, like, Clear, really the wet blanket of the film, she finds Eugene's room and she walks in and she's like, Eugene. And, like, she is just like, there's hope in her eyes. Like, she is so happy to have found Eugene. And I kind of feel like, bitch, like, you haven't given two shits up until the last, I don't know, 45 seconds of this movie.
Well, he was the one that called her a crazy bitch and told her that she needed to get out and leave them alone if Death was trying. So yeah, it was weird. However, that isn't even the worst of the scene because what happens is her going in the room causes basically a spark or something. I don't know what ends up happening, but the whole fucking room blows up.
You see fucking Clear River's body, Clear launched across an entire fucking hallway consumed with fire. It's clearly a mannequin, but it makes it even better, in my opinion, because this body just limply is flung through the burning air, and there is no way that Clear Rivers survived this explosion because you see the flesh charred off her face.
Yeah.
It's violent, it is climactic, but it certainly does feel like kind of, I mean, I shocking, but also like I mean, I hate to say disappointing. Like we watch these movies so we are shocked, but like there goes like the last tie-in other than Tony Todd, the last tie-in to the original film, and it does make me kind of disappointed that now, like, moving forward, it's all going to be like completely new cast structures and so forth, because I'm somebody who loves to have like a thread that weaves through a franchise and can kind of like bring it back to its roots.
Well, yeah, and why'd they bring her back just to do this? Maybe that's why her performance is so like blasé throughout the film because she's mad that she got killed off, which I would be too, but like it just seemed sort of, I don't know, unnecessary.
I wonder if like she just like maybe was, I'm not saying this as anything against one Ali Larder. I know we come hard for Ali Larder, but at the end of the day, like maybe it ended up not being a great situation for her. Maybe she just wasn't feeling it. Maybe by the end of it, she just wanted to get out. I don't know. But it feels like almost in a way they're like, okay, let's just fucking wrap her up. Let's get her done. Clear Rivers is done, and we can move forward. Because it is like she is dead, and there ain't no way that this girl's coming back.
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing. Even though we've harped on the character, at least the performance, it's still clear fucking Rivers. Like you said, she's the only thing that connects the first film to the second film, and just to have her killed off, just like so. Like
Unceremoniously.
there's really like every other character gets a kind of a nice build up. I would have at least liked to have seen that, but I guess at least it's not as bad as just getting a newspaper article in part 3 saying she got burned alive like we do about Alex.
Yeah.
But we also have to mention, and he's just kind of totally forgotten about, Eugene was killed too.
Yeah, he was completely engulfed in
But
flame.
nobody, I mean, yeah, nobody's going to remember that. It's all about Clear River's moment of being burned to death. So it's terrible. Kimberly then keeps having these fucking premonitions. So she has some premonitions. She has another one where she realizes it's her hands and that she's engulfed in water. And she comes up with this thing where she realizes what she has to do. So she's like, I'm going to go. And Burke's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? She's like, I got to end this once and for all. I have to die in order for this to end. And Burke is like freaking out, and she like gets really close to his ear and says, like, she's like, get Dr. Kalargian.
Oh my god, it is full fucking circle, Dr. Kalargian, who's really coming in to save the fucking day. This woman that we know nothing about and can't even say her name.
So what ends up happening is Kimberly gets back into the van and she very deliberately drives it into the lake while she's in it so that the van sinks. And Officer Burke knows what he has to do too. So he jumps in the lake and is trying to get her out, but can't get the doors open. And here we get a moment of her literally just like drowning to death. And Burke can't get to her. However, it does this like fade out and then fade back in. And we hear, the doctors talking, and she is on the examining table. And Dr. Kalarjian resuscitates her.
Oh, she comes in and she fucking takes charge. And I do feel that while this whole ending sequence is
It's
it's
nonsense.
nonsense, it's convoluted, but like there is a story here, and in their own way they're fucking wrapping it up. And you know, obviously I entered this fucking review with a lot of praise, and even as mind-bogglingly confusing as this finale is, in which AJ Cook literally just drives herself to suicide and then is resuscitated and survives. Like, let's keep in mind, like, that isn't a surefire outcome. So good on Dr. Kalargian for really having the skills to bring this dead woman back to life. Because this means that AJ Cook as Kimberly did in fact die on the table in order for this to work. It's nonsense. I love it. I'm not gonna shame it. It's very entertaining, but I'm not following this one for the story by this point.
Yeah, it's just convoluted and kind of silly because who wrote this rule that if you die and come back to life, that death's going to be like, oh well, I guess I'm going to bypass you. Tony Todd, apparently, I don't know. It just seems like a very silly like thing to think that because you drown for and die for 30 seconds that and you're brought back to life, that death is going to be like, oh okay, well you're fine, you're already died,
You
you're good.
you won this time.
You want, I mean, come on. Anyway, so she's brought back to life. Dr. Burke welcomes her back and tells her, we did it. We cheated death. And then it's kind of a nice little happy ending until we get this final ending scene where Kimberly. Okay, so how old do you think Kimberly is?
I mean, I'm thinking she's probably like 20, maybe.
Okay, and how old do you think Dr. Burke
You mean
is?
Officer Burke?
Or Officer Burke, I'm
No, it's okay.
sorry.
It's probably like 39.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's very much hinted at that there's like a attraction between the two of them, and then like this final scene kind of hits it home where they're like at this cookout together, and it's the it's the parents that were at the car crash that killed Kat and Rory and that damn backwoods kid.
Their son, whose life was saved by Rory because he's
Okay,
almost run
but
over by a vehicle.
it's a
So
very
this,
quick
yes, it's
yes,
strange.
they're at this barbecue and it's a very quick scene. It's the final moments, final minute of the film. They're all at this. Everyone's having a gay old time, and the boy says he's going to go check the grill. And at this time, the father's like, "Oh, did you know that Jethro, whatever his name is, Jethro cheated death himself?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, that day at the car accident." He almost got ran down by a news van, but your friend Rory pulled him out of the way just in time. It saved his life. And Burke and Kimberly look at each other, and then they all look over at the grill, and the grill fucking explodes, blowing this.
It is one of the. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, blowing this poor kid to smithereens.
It is honestly one of the best fucking finales in the whole goddamn film series because it comes out of nowhere. His hand lands right on the fucking plate strategically, and everyone, of course, starts screaming, which, of course, as you do when these things happen. But yeah, it's a great finale, even with like the movie having like little pitfalls over the course of the progression of the story. Um, it never ever ever fails to be entertaining, and I think this ending is a great example of that. Like this ending, it's absurd, it's far fetched. Almost goes a comedic route, but I don't care because it's very aware.
I was just gonna say that it has just a sense of like absurdity and silliness to it that the rest of the film does not possess at all. This film up until this point has been very serious, very dark, but then you get this comedic, silly ending. I mean, a fucking arm landing on the mother's plate on the picnic table and she's screaming bloody murder. I mean, and the score playing over, it's very playful, very odd ending in terms of how it connects to the tone of the rest of the film. But like you, I fucking love this ending. It is so fun. It's out of nowhere. I did not expect it. I remember watching it the first time and my jaw being on the floor. It's so silly. It's so stupid, but it's so fun. It's so fun.
But when you think about like what the series is, what it's doing, what it's setting out to do, like at the end of the day, I mean, we said this early on as well. Like you can think you can have every solution you want, but there's no fucking rules to death. Like I mean, they can think that they figured out the puzzle, but death is going to come and get you regardless. And I feel like this is kind of at the end of the film the wink to the audience, letting people know like you're never fucking safe. Like you might have survived this specific series of events, but like death is always there, and eventually it will win. And I really think the humor here works in the film's favor, because the setup is so absurd. I mean, let's be real. A death is killing people intentionally. It's looking for them. Uh, this movie knows exactly what it is. Even when it falters, it never stops being true to like the overall goal of what it's trying to present to its fan base, which is just absurd deaths loosely tied together by a simple series of events and nothing more. It knows that the people that come to see these films are here for the kills, and it makes sure that it delivers in that area. And oh boy, does it deliver, regardless of any other falters it may have.
And I do think the comedic ending of part two really set up then kind of nicely the tone for part three, which then bled over into the tone of part four, because those two sequels of all of the entire franchise have the most comedic, lighthearted, not lighthearted. I don't want to say they're not as serious as one, two, or five. The tone is definitely verges more on comedy, and I think that the ending of this film really set that up nicely for part three and part four. So yeah, I mean, it kind of comes full circle, and then you get the wonderful part five, which I love, and now
Love it.
we're getting another one, and I can't wait to see what they do with that. But
Oh, have you heard? They've announced what it is.
oh,
Do you want to
okay,
know what the setup is? Do you want
sure,
to know? It's first responders during a
okay,
massive fire,
oh.
and a bunch of them survive it. And I'm like, ooh, you know what? That sounds not like any of the other ones, to
You
be
know what I thought
honest.
you were gonna say, and I was like, okay, that's kind of morbid, but it's actually pretty. I thought you were gonna say first responders to a mass shooting.
Oh my god.
And I was like, oh, dark, but hey, I mean, it's part of American life now. You might as well go with it. But no, I mean, so Final Destination 2, Roger, one of my favorites of the franchise, if not the favorite of the franchise. I think it's a definitely an example of a sequel that surpasses the first one. And I still like the first one quite a bit. But I mean, goddamn, one of the best sequences, that opening car crash in, I'm going to argue, cinematic history. It's incredibly well done. The impact that it's made on people that have seen it, I think, is very palpable and kind of deserves its little spot in horror history. And actually, I've been watching the 100 Scariest Movie Moments on Shudder, and they actually had it. The scene from Final Destination 2 listed at number 12, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, to be honest.
So
When you
yeah,
look at
and I
it,
was like,
yeah.
wow. I mean, I was very surprised. It placed higher than like Black Christmas. It placed higher than a lot of other films. So I mean, it's that impactful. So yeah, guys, Final Destination 2. What are your thoughts? Where would you rank it in the
It's my
franchise?
number one.
Let us know.
Oh, I thought you were asking me.
Yeah.
I was like, it's my number
Well,
one.
I know.
Yeah, we're asking the
I'm asking the
fans.
fan.
Asking the
We want
fans.
to. Does anybody? Would anybody? I'm curious. Would anybody rank this
Oh
last?
my god.
I can't imagine there's
Fools.
people that think three or four is better than this. Four is especially. Let's be honest. Four is
Yeah,
pretty bad.
I agree. I'm not a huge fan.
I'm curious. Where would you rank Final Destination 2 in the Final Destination franchise, guys? But that's it. I guess we can leave you with, hey, we haven't asked for a while. Leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Check out our Patreon, where we're going to have Friday the 13th Part 8 up here real soon. Roger, do you have anything else to say about Final Destination 2? Do you want to announce our film for next week? What are you thinking? We're at 2 hours and 30 minutes, so make it
Oh my
quick.
god. God damn, it's been so fucking long. I'm bringing it home. Final Destination 2. I fucking love it. Give me more AJ Cook. Give me, where has she been? Give me more AJ Cook. But yeah, no, this, like I said earlier, it was very nostalgic watching this film. This film was hugely defining for me as a fan of the genre. It came about at the right time, and I never really let go of my love for it, no matter how absurd it gets. It'll always be one of my favorites. And the sequences, when it gets down to business, when it comes to the kills, I mean, few films do it better. So yeah, I'm very curious to hear about what fans think about our critiques, because we got a little rough on certain aspects of the film, but overall, I have such love for it, such a love for it, and yeah, our next title that we're going to be reviewing, we're we're right in the thick of it. We're getting to late October at this point. And I think that we try to always go for obscure titles, or titles maybe that don't get as much love or attention. But I felt like if we're going to touch on one that's like truly truly impactful to one of us and defining for one of us, um I mean, this is the title for me that really did shape and cement my love for the horror genre and started it for me at the tender age of 7 years old. I hold this title extremely close to my heart. I have nothing but love for it, and I'm very excited to get to talk about it simply from a place of knowledge. This is a title I know so much about, so it's going to be a really great conversation, because I just want to hear your angle on it too, Troy, because there's a lot to talk about. I mean, it's the seminal, defining masterpiece that pretty much created a genre of horror that has since gone on to become one of the most renowned and pivotal subgenres there is, the zombie. I mean, people fucking love zombies, and I get why. And it's George Romero's 1968 masterpiece, Night of the Living Dead. I mean, it had to happen eventually. It might as well happen with this season, because it is such a Halloween time period film, in my opinion. It feels like fall. It feels like there's crisp chill in the air, and it's perfect for this season, in my opinion.
Absolutely, it is a classic, and we've done a few classic films so far. I mean, we just did Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one, so we are not shying away from selecting those films. So it's really going to be intriguing to discuss The Night of the Living Dead with you, because I've known since I've known you that is one of the your favorite film of all time, and it's definitely one that's influenced you as a filmmaker. I mean, you basically made it, you remade it, updated it with by several aspects with your film Rebirth. So I am super excited to hear you discuss this film, because I think there's so much that we can dive into in terms of like the social commentary that it was making, the fact that it was ahead of its time in some of the casting choices, correct? So
Oh
I'm
yeah,
super excited, so yeah, guys, that'll be our next episode, Night of the Living Dead.
it's gonna be a fucking good
It's going to
one.
be
I mean,
epic.
we're coming back at you after a brief hiatus with some material that's going to be blowing skirts up. So sit the fuck down and put on your headphones
For 2.5 hours,
for
apparently.
2.5 fucking hours talking about AJ Cook. All right, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us on this highway to hell with this review of Final Destination 2. And make sure to come back next week for another masterpiece, Night of the Living Dead. Thank you so much for sticking it out with this episode.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
Good night.